Walking in Another World, Chapter 571, Meeting Up. After explaining the situation, we're going ahead first. Hikari, Kana, and Shun move out. I want to go too, but I can't just leave Mia and Chris, even if there aren't monsters near here. I use telepathy to bring the Golem back, and we start walking fast. Since Hikari and the others are running, the gap between us keeps getting wider. Mia and Chris aren't actually slow, but they're still not going to be able to keep up with Hikari. It's worse in a forest like this, where roots and branches get in our way, and we have to be cautious of sneak attacks from blind corners. It's normally impossible to run like that. I have skills like presence detection and parallel thinking, so I'm barely able to do it. And yet, Hikari can run around like that's not a problem. She's really good. In her case, she can just instantly decide where to run. We advance silently through the quiet forest with me in front, with the only sound being our breaths. Eventually, the sounds I hear behind me get pretty erratic. Are they at their limit? Thankfully, this is when the Golem reaches us, so we can pick up the pace. I run, and Mia and Chris ride the Golem. Our formation has also changed, with the Golem in front, and me behind it. But at this point, the distance between the monsters and giants has shrunken quite a bit. I'm pretty sure they can see each other. Hikari and the others have gotten pretty close too, but they're not going to get there in time. Eventually, the reactions from the giants I see on map go all over the place. I'm watching them while running by using parallel thinking. I can see magic energy reactions on map become smaller, and then reviving. This means all the giants are doing is wasting their stamina. If we can get there, Mia can deal with the undead quickly, but it's annoying, but we just can't get there fast enough. If this was an open field with good visibility, I could use transfer, but not here. I could have had the Golem hold a transfer magic item earlier, but I'm only coming up with that idea now that it's too late. Are you alright, Sora? I guess that regret is showing on my face, or maybe it looks like I'm tired from running, because Mia turns around and speaks to me with a worried tone. I'm fine. More importantly, I peek at map, and see that battle has changed a lot. I'm only going from what I see on map, but the giants' movements were vigorous at the start. I could see their reactions moving all over. That changed when the small undead reactions revived. Then the giants started being pushed back little by little, but now things are turning around again. It's all thanks to the new reactions that joined the battle. First it was Hikari and Kana, and then Shun. Mia has infused their weapons with the holy attribute, so they have the advantage against undead. I also gave Kana elemental throwing knives, so their numbers are going down a lot. Then I see more reactions appear from the village. I can see it's Rurika and Sarah, along with Naoto and the others. Rurika and Sarah have throwing knives with elemental effects, and Miharu is a saint. Now the tide is turning fast. Undead disappear, and their numbers advantage is quickly being taken from them. This all happens an hour before we get there. Ah, Master, it's over. Ah, yes, easy, says Hikari while puffing out her chest. I see Kana is surrounded by giants, but they're not threatening her. They look perplexed. Shun looks dejected for some reason, and Naoto is talking to him. What happened? I think it's because Kana looks like their statue. And Shun, you can just leave that alone, says Rurika. I'm so glad you're okay, Rurika. Hikari said they were captured, and that they weren't doing anything bad to them. But I'm still relieved to see them well, and Chris is the same. She runs over to Rurika, looking happy. Mia, I'm gonna need more holy water. As for Sarah, she's asking to restock her disposable items, and Mia smiles awkwardly. I think Sarah places a lot of importance on those goods because of her painful experiences fighting as a slave. After seeing that everyone's safe, one giant approaches us. Little ones, are you the friends they talked about? Yes. The giant then introduces himself as Kaitos. Don't you feel anything? He asks. I think he's talking about the curse. I look at the giants again, but don't really feel any repulsion. It looks like Chris, Mia, and Kana are the same, and of course, Shun is too, so I tell him that. All right, let me take you to the village. Kaitos turns around, and speaks to the other giants. Walking in Another World, Chapter 572. The Giants' Village. My first impression is that the houses are big. Well, obviously, houses that would normally have 2 floors only have 1. We're surrounded by giants, as we head to the chief's house. I want to see Siphon and the others, but I'll just have to believe Rurika when she says they're all right, and meet the elder first. We're prompted to sit on a floor with a rug, and other giants, like Kaitos, sit down in front of an elderly giant. Even sitting down, they're about as tall as Hikari. So you are a friend of the small ones? Yes. You do look alike. What is your name? Kana. I heard what happened from Hikari. I was once a Miko of Mr. Kalotos. I have heard that name, but it was a long time ago. And your appearance? I know, I can explain that. Kana talks about fighting the fairy god, and what happened after that, and that she was turned into a statue in Majolika's dungeon. She was released, but her body had fallen apart, so she was just a soul. I inhabit a golem body, all thanks to Mr. Kaloto's power. She leaves the golem, and it turns back into its regular humanoid golem shape. The giants are all surprised, but also look like they don't fully believe it. It makes sense, considering it just looks like the golem changed shape. Also, she has lost her powers as a Miko, and it looks like the giants can't see her when she's not possessing the golem. Sora, bring Mr. Kalotos here, says Kana after possessing the golem again. I nod, and he jumps out of the bracelet. But then something occurs to me. If they can't see Kana, will they see Kalotos? When he comes out of the bracelet, he's transparent. Probably even more than in Altair's dungeon. And sure enough, the giants don't react. Kana doesn't look happy about that. You can't see me? The giants look surprised, and start looking around after suddenly hearing a voice coming from above them. Shun looks surprised too. Can you see me now? Asks Kalotos, and the outline of his body gradually becomes clear. Is it really true? The giants' mouths hang open once they can see him perfectly. Is that really you, Mr. Kalotos? Yes, I am. We are actually in the presence of the giant god. The elder lowers his head, and the other giants follow. Some are even moved to tears. They believe him, but is this okay? Ruriku asks Kana. She has a point. We know Kalotos is the giant god, but what led the giants to reach that conclusion? They know by his soul, not his appearance, says Kana. Exactly. Our instincts tell us this is the giant god, asserts Kaitos. And the others nod. I guess it could be something specific to their race that only they understand. So, Mr. Kalotos and Miss Kana, we asked you to come here because you wanted to talk about undoing the curse. Yes. Or setting up the barrier again. We cannot go even deeper into the forest. We have no place to go further into the forest. I've never really thought about it, but what's at the end of this world? Is it round like Earth? Or does it stop somewhere? I haven't read that described in any book. So should I ask Kalotos? The barrier is no good, but we might be able to undo the curse. Really? So will Miss Kana. Kana can't do it. But we have Mia. Mia is surprised when he suddenly points at her. Don't worry, you can do it, he says to her with confidence. I heard the giants were cursed by the fairy god. I assume it's different from a regular curse, but Mia really might be able to fix it. If she can't, I'm guessing there won't be any other option besides tracking down the fairy god to undo the curse directly, and from what I heard from Ileana and Kalotos, this fairy god won't do that willingly. Anyway, I'm tired. Handle the rest, Kana, Kalotos says before returning to the bracelet. What should we do? First, take us to the others. And since we are tired from the journey, we will need to make some preparations, says Kana, because she knows that's what we're thinking. Very well, Kaitos. Take them. Yes. Come this way, little ones. We see Siphon and the others again, and no one looks hurt. They all seem to be doing well. Walking in Another World, Chapter 573, Barrier. After meeting up with Siphon and the others, I asked them how they've been. We've been mostly here, and Rurika and Sarah have been bringing us food. We haven't been out, and we haven't seen a giant in a week. There's a reason for that. Apparently the giants dropped by to see how they were doing pretty frequently at first. After that, Rurika and Sarah became responsible for bringing their food, and they stopped seeing giants. And then, there was a change in Argo and the others, as their hatred for the giants slowly wore off. But it was not completely gone, and not only did they somehow always knew where the giants were, but they also felt an urge to go in that direction. It's the curse. I hear Kaloto's voice in my head. This is why they've been completely cut off from the giants. I feel so powerless. No kidding, say Late and Argo, but according to Kalotos, it's a curse from the fairy god, so there's nothing they can do about it. In fact, it's pretty incredible how goblins' grief can resist it and maintain their sanity. They have been working with you, so that might explain why they have some resistance, says Kalotos. But I don't understand. What now? They say Mia might be able to lift this curse, and we're planning to try tomorrow. And Chris and I will try to raise the barrier again. Kana lost her powers as Miko, but retained the knowledge, so we're going to try to raise a similar barrier. Kalotos says Mia can do it, but we still don't know how well that will go. We also don't know if monsters won't attack again. Siphon says they feel hatred when they look at the giants, but it seems the mere existence of the giants draws monsters to them. The next morning, we visit the elder to start working on the barrier. Are you the ones who will put up the barrier? Yes, so we would like to be taken to where the magic item that produces it is, says Kana, leaving the elder looking perplexed. It's all right. These two have received the divine protection of Mr. Kalotos and Miss Ileana, the spirit goddess, says Kana, and the elder's expression changes. I didn't get any divine protection. I have this bracelet so he can move around, but it's not like what Ileana gave Chris. That grandiose introduction just makes me worried in case it fails. It's fine. I'd like to know where she gets that conviction. And I wanted to reassure the elder. I guess there's nothing I can say to that, Sora. We just have to make sure it works, says Chris, raring to go. She wants to help the giants too, but I'm sure she also wants to learn about barriers from Kana. That's Chris for you, always hungry for knowledge, especially when magic is involved. Apparently Rurika had to tell her to go to sleep last night. How do I know that? Because Rurika grumbled about it to me. No, I wasn't in the room with them. It's here. As I think that, we reach our destination, where I see a stone statue. It's similar, I say without thinking while turning to Kana. Apparently the first elder made it. So, yes, this seems to be it. Kana points to the jewel the statue is holding. It's holding it like it's something very precious. Do you feel magic energy, Sora? Asks Kana. But I don't feel any, so I shake my head. Use analysis to see what happened to it. I do just that, and letters carved inside the jewel pop up in my mind. Part of it is blurred, so I tell her I can't see everything. All right, let's make a new one. It would be easy if we could use the jewel as is. But make use of this, says Kana while touching the jewel, and it comes off easily. The elder looks surprised. Now do as I said yesterday. Chris and I put our hands on the jewel, and make magic energy flow. I'm using holy, light, and earth magic energy, while Chris is using water and wind spirit energy. I can feel the jewel filling with magic energy. I adjust the magic energy as I make it flow, and control it so it mixes. And then, the jewel is enveloped by light. Chris, now, says Kana, and Chris pumps even more magic energy. This time, it's firepower she's borrowing from spirits, which surrounds the jewel like a film. Once that's done, the shining jewel returns to normal. Sora, analysis, please. I use analysis on it, and see that I can now read the parts that were blurred before. Yes, it worked. But this is only a temporary measure. The elder hears that, but still looks happy. Kana nevertheless warns him that this only makes it so enemies aren't drawn in from outside, and they will still hate them if they see them. So Argo and the others still can't come out. They can go back to the village, as long as they don't meet any giants. So we should talk to the others about that. But first, we need to see if Mia can lift the curse. Walking in Another World, Chapter 574, Lifting the Curse, Part 1. The barrier has been successfully raised, so we go see how Mia is doing. She's in a building allotted to us, with Hikari, Miharu, and Shun sitting next to her. Did she do it? I don't see any giants. As I get closer, I see she looks serious. What's wrong? Sora, I used recovery, but it didn't feel like it worked, or like it cured them. Can you cast appraisal and check? When she says that, I realize I haven't cast it since I got here. I guess I could try. Then let me call someone. I'll go. Mia gets up to go call a villager, but Shun goes out instead. He looks pretty enthusiastic. Did something happen? Not long after, he comes back with two giants, who I thank for coming here, before casting appraisal. Appraisal doesn't show me anything, but when I use analysis on top of it, it does show fairy curse. I see the curse. Thank you. Then let me cast recovery, she says, and when she casts it, the giant's body is covered in light that disappears soon after. I cast appraisal again, and see fairy's curse is gone. Miharu then casts recovery on the other giant, but that one still has the curse. She looks disappointed, and Shun tries his best to console her. Mia then casts recovery again, which erases the curse status, but she frowns. What? It still doesn't feel like they're healed. I don't know how to explain it, It's just a feeling. That feeling is important. Master, are they really healed? Asks Hikari, but after I cast appraisal again, it shows me the same thing. The fairy's curse is stubborn. We should keep an eye on them. I'm sure Mia's instincts are right, says Kana after hearing our back and forth, and we decide to keep them under watch. But for now, we go tell the elder how things are going. This might take a while, so we want to negotiate late and the others being able to go back to the village, along with Argo and the others. Ryuru might get impatient if we take too long, so I think she'll feel better if we tell her what we're doing. But the elder doesn't look happy when we say we need to report on what we're up to. I can feel that he's worried about the existence of this village being made known to the outside world. In the end, Kana convinces him, and the fact that the barrier is back up helps. All right, we will tell Ryuru. We ask Late to tell Ryuru we're staying here for a while, to lift the curse, and we make sure to tell him to inform the others not to get close to this place. The villagers are asked to stay inside while Late and the others leave, so it's completely quiet now. The ones going back to Fuxto for now are the beast people like Late, Argo's party, and Noto and Kt. Goblin's grief is staying, so we can make sure the curse has been lifted. This means they're going to be restricted while staying here, but they gladly accept. Shun is staying because Miharu is staying, and Kotori is staying because she wants to let Noto and Kt be alone. And what should we do if the curse comes back? Make something that strengthens the effect of recovery. And by that, I mean you should make it, Sora, says Mia, and I check the list in the alchemy and creation skills. Some of the disposable items need to be made by her, like holy water. We're going to need a lot, so I think we also need Miharu's help. But I want stuff like laurel tree fruit. I would have to go back to Altair. But should I take Hikari this time? After thinking about it, I leave a transfer magic item with Ruruka, and go to Altair with Hikari, Shun, Miharu, and Kotori. They say they want to see it. It would be nice if they had a stock of laurel tree fruit, but I guess I can go pick it too. I can walk by myself, use transfer, and run with a Gillam wagon. I feel like Cirque might catch Hikari and try to keep her with him when we go to the dungeon, but Mia is busy, and Chris and the others are looking after Goblin's grief. We're planning to come back right away, but still. Well then, look after things here. Yes, and you look after Sora, Hikari. Leave it to me. I see Hikari is more reliable in their eyes than me. We leave the rest to Mia and Miharu, and transfer to Altair. Walking in Another World, Chapter 575, Becoming a Pupil. The three who are seeing Altair for the first time are surprised. The sight of the big tree behind the castle really is impressive. I wish I could show them the view from Marty or the mountain range, but we'll do that another time. We start by going to the Merchant Guild in Altair to see if they have laurel tree fruit, but meet Cirque along the way. It looks like he's out of breath. Was he looking for us? Did he instinctually sense Hikari was here? I don't know, but Hikari, fight me, is the first thing he says. Can I? She asks, and I nod. Cirque is going to be annoying if I say no, and it looks like Hikari is really looking forward to facing him too, especially since she's probably looking forward to using her skill. She's been practicing controlling the power of projectile slash, so she can use it during mock battles too now. Its normal effect is to slash when it hits, but now it can also feel like a hit with a blunt weapon. Getting hit with it would hurt, but it won't cause a serious wound, I think. Using the projectile slashed skill gives Hikari an advantage, so she typically doesn't use it on weak opponents. But I'm wondering if she sees Cirque as an appropriate target for it. I'm about to say goodbye and say we'll meet up later, when Sehana comes running after Cirque. When I say I want to buy laurel tree fruit, she says I should talk to Uini, so we go to the castle. You two are royalty. Kotori is surprised when I introduce them. Uini is working, so I'll go call her. Sora, please teach my brother a painful lesson, she says, and then goes to get Uini. Cirque is too focused on Hikari to have heard that, and I'll pretend I didn't hear it either. Still, some exercise doesn't sound bad right now, so I'll join their training. I've been working as a blacksmith, and then I went to the giant's village and worked on the barrier, so I haven't had a lot of opportunities to swing my sword. In the end, the others also come with me, as we join the guards. After 2 hours of exercise, people gather to do mock battles. First, it's Hikari and Cirque. Cirque is looking taller, so his strength has also increased. When we were training and I peeked his way, the sound he made when he swung his sword was different. and the person he was facing praised him. But he's a bad match against Hikari, and she runs circles around him. Being taller means his arms are also longer, so when she gets close, he can't attack well and he's pushed fully on the defense. But he still manages to defend himself well. If this happened before, he would have been pushed back completely. I feel like he grows every time we come here, and I think Hikari thinks so too, because I see a small smile on her face. Yes, I want to think she's just smiling because she's happy about his growth. And let's ignore that chill running down my spine. Is something wrong? Are you feeling okay, Sora? Ask Kotori and Miharu. Hello Sora. Then Uini and Seihana casually walk up to us, with Alfred behind them. Kotori and Miharu are very surprised when they see Uini. Who are? Uini asks about the two girls she doesn't know, and I introduce them, and also Shun, who is in the middle of a mock battle. Uini also introduces herself to them, and they exchange greetings. What do you think of Cirque, Sora? He's great. I don't know how their battle will turn out. Hikari is having fun too, so it feels like he's grown. Seihana hears me, and turns to Cirque and Hikari with a happy expression. She's strict with Cirque, but in a way, that's part of her affection, although she would never admit it. Then Shun comes back and says hello to Uini and Seihana, and Cirque's mock battle with Hikari also ends, without Hikari ever using her projectile slash. Cirque managed to push her back one time, but when she got close again, she made use of her speed to let her attacks toy with him. Cirque looks frustrated, but you've gotten stronger. His face loosens when Hikari says that. Then Cirque challenges me, but Shun gets involved. Looks like he's fired up from watching them. He uses a sword, so that might have to do with it. Their mock battle starts out good, but once Shun goes up a gear, it suddenly ends. Makes sense, considering how he was in the tournament. People watching are surprised, and even Alfred is impressed. And Cirque is dumbfounded, while Shun's sword is pointed at him. Please teach me, he says while bowing in front of Shun. Walking in Another World, Chapter 576, Lifting the Curse, Part 2. Shun is taken aback because it's so sudden, and ends up saying number. But as they keep talking, he ends up agreeing to stay here for a few days, so he's going to teach him some swordsmanship in the meantime. Or rather, he's going to join their training. How about you give him some pointers? That question from Miharu is what seals the deal for Shun. Cirque has grown since the first time we saw him, but he still looks young, and Miharu wanted to help this small boy get his wish. Miharu is surprised when she later finds out Cirque's age. As for me, they're going to let me have laurel tree fruit, but since they don't have a lot right now, I'll take what I can today, and I'll be back in a few days to get the rest. According to Uini, that will take 5 days, so I go back to the village by myself. Miharu wanted to see Mia work, but she's staying because Shun has to stay. Shun would definitely want to leave too if she left. When I get back, I immediately get to work making what Mia asked. That said, all I'm doing is combining laurel tree fruit with the holy water Mia made with the water provided by Chris Water Spirit. What I get after using alchemy is a potion. The idea is to take this for a few days, let it adapt to the body, and then Mia will cast recovery on top of it. We won't know if this will definitely remove the curse until we try. We're ready, so we explain it to the elder, and we're going to try it on a few giants first. I can tell how their bodies react to the medicine by using appraisal, but Mia can feel it too, so she can cast recovery when they're ready. Yes, I think it's fine. What do you think? I cast appraisal, and see the curse is gone. We still need to see if it doesn't come back, but Mia's face tells me it will be fine. I'll go get Hikari and the others, I say, and so I transfer to Alter, and when I go see Uini, she already has laurel tree fruit for me. I try to pay her for this and the ones she gave me before, but she refuses, so I insist that she take it. Laurel tree fruit is very expensive. Come back again, Master. I'll be even stronger next time. When I go get the others, that's when Cirque says when it's time to leave. His expression makes it clear this time was fulfilling for him. I'm curious about what they did, but I'll ask later. It's not just Cirque either. The guards also say goodbye to Shun. What did you do, Hikari? Went around sightseeing in Altair with Kotori and Miharu. Seihana guided you around? Sounds like they also had fun. I got more laurel tree fruit, but production of the potion has temporarily stopped, because Mia says we should see how the others progress first. Laurel tree fruit has many uses, so she doesn't want to waste it making something that ends up not working. It would definitely not go to waste curing a normal curse, but I should go with Mia's opinion here. They won't spoil in the item box, not to mention that laurel tree fruit is usually not this easy to get. Anyway, if the curse doesn't come back after 10 days, we can really start treating them. I think that is fair. Kano agrees with Mia, deciding our course going forward. While we wait, some of us do mock battles with the giants, and some listen to them. What is beyond this village? Of course, I'm in the second group, so I ask about the area around the village. I walked through the area around the village when we were putting up the barrier, but it felt like the thick forest keeps going, so I'm curious about what's after it. We always lived inside the barrier, so I honestly don't know. But according to stories passed down through generations, at some point, you're not able to keep advancing anymore. I think back to this world's map while hearing that. There were 7 countries on it, but at the edges of the map were forests and mountains, with no mention at all of how long they go on for. Maybe I'd learn something in a library. But should I go back to the central city first and ask the Beast King? The Beast King traveled around a lot during his training. He said he even met Gedo and Ignis in the dark forest. Speaking of which, demons can fly, so should I ask one of them? That's when I realized that I do know people who should know more about this, but I can't ask right now. Starting tomorrow, I'm on potion making duty, using the holy water and laurel tree fruits. Walking in Another World, Chapter 577. Tufas. Are you sure you shouldn't stay in the village? I ask Kano when it's time to leave the village of the giants. Helping you all comes first, she says, but she doesn't sound too confident. Kaloto's wanting her to explore the world in his place is restraining her too, so I don't know what she actually wants. I'm leaving a transfer magic item in the village so I can visit it from time to time, so should I bring her with me when I do? If she changes her mind, she can just tell me she wants to stay. The biggest reason why I'm leaving an item here is because Mia said we should periodically check if the curse didn't come back. Also, the elder wants to talk to the person at the top of this country if possible. After saying goodbye to Kaitos and the others, we leave the village, and I use transfer to go back to Fuxto. I've been back here a few times to report, but still, a lot of time has passed. We spend the next 3 days in Fuxto, and then it's time to transfer back to Fuzz. Transfer is useful, but I don't like how it takes away opportunities to walk. But still, there was unforeseen trouble that really threw our plans for a loop, so it couldn't be avoided. We also left a dungeon halfway complete, but we can't go back right away, even if we are in Fuzz. First, I want to ask Rairu to arrange for me to meet the Beast King. He goes to the training area a lot, but he is still the king. He's pretty busy, especially since the tournament is over, and he has to take care of work that's been piling up. I haven't seen him a lot lately. It's been a bit since the tournament ended, but it looks like he's still busy. It actually takes me 5 days to see him, after I ask Rairu. He also lacks the intensity he usually has, and I see bags under his eyes. Are you alright? I ask without thinking. Things have settled down a lot, but I wanna go move my body as much as I want. So what do you need? Rairu told me I should hear from you directly. I look at Rairu, who is standing behind him. It might make you even busier, so are you sure? I hesitate when I see how tired he is, but I have to say it. The Beast King's forehead twitches, but he nods. I start telling him about the giant's village, while of course, keeping Kalotos a secret. He stays quiet and listens. All right, let's go to that village, he yells and gets up when I finish, and suffice to say, Rairu gets mad at him. Can you take him after things are somewhat finished here? I nod, and he rushes off somewhere. We'll contact you when things are done over here, says Rairu, looking happier. I'm thinking their work might have been stagnating, and she brought me here to meet him now to motivate him. I go back, and Rurika and the others are also in the inn. They said they were going out with Elsa and Alto, but they're back already. How did it go with the Beast King? He says he wants to go to the village, but Rairu stopped him because he has work to do. She didn't just stop him, she was mad too. When I tell them that, they laugh because that's just like the Beast King. Then we should go back to the dungeon, right? Should we go to the lower floors first? Maybe. To get that feeling back. We've been doing mock battles after we returned to Fuzz, but we haven't fought monsters in a while. I also want to check how my remade weapon does. After talking it over, we decide to go to the 10th, 20th, 30th floors, and the other multiples of 10th until we get to the 60th floor. Then we'll go to the 60th floor, and keep going up one floor at a time. From the 71st floor on, there are four-legged monsters like hellhounds and orthros. I don't think there will be any humanoid monsters until the Anubis in the 91st floor. There will be monsters I've never fought before, so I need to remember to read about them in the reference room. We need to change equipment and how we prepare based on characteristics of monsters and their attacks. Also, monsters get stronger the further up we go, and their skin gets tougher, so I'm curious to see how far my remade weapon will go. If it was before, it would be possible to die and come back, and try different methods that way, but it's not that simple now. In any case, if we want to reach the top, we have to keep advancing even more cautiously than before. Walking in Another World, Chapter 578, First Dungeon, Part 12. We're restarting our dungeon exploration to get our bodies used to it again, but also to get used to using the weapons. I made them with alchemy, and the memory skill should have made it so they have the same shapes and weight, but they might be different when they're actually in use. At the very least, I think the sharpness and easiness of making magic energy flow should be different. The latter in particular is important, because knowing how magic energy is spent affects how many times it can be done, and how long that can be maintained. Then, there's also how compatible they will be with Hikari and Rurika's skills, although there isn't much benefit to using them on the lower floors. Still, we're going through the multiples of 10. As I swing my sword and take down monsters, I feel like it's too sharp, and I feel basically nothing when I cut with it. It feels strange. If I closed my eyes and swung, I wouldn't be able to tell if I was hitting anything. Not to mention that I don't have to infuse it with magic energy. When we get to the 60th floor and we fight minotaurs with shields, I'm able to break through their defenses by infusing my weapon with magic energy and using skills like sword slash. I can't just slash them once and destroy them, but if I keep repeating attacks on the same spot, I can destroy them like that. Hikari, how is it? Apparently her projectile slash is stronger, so she nods with a satisfied expression. So improving the efficiency of her weapon also boosts the power of her skill, and makes it easier to hold magic energy. If she uses her projectile slash while making magic energy flow, she can cut a shield cleanly in two. Sarah, Rurika, and Kana all seem satisfied, and after reaching the 68th floor, we decide to go back. "Oh, are you on your way back too?" asks Siphon as we reach the reception desk. Apparently they just left the dungeon too. If they're coming back this way, it means their parties have been going up too. Siphon and Argo's parties aren't really aiming for the top. Rather, the idea is to reach a floor they want, and keep repeating it. "There are materials we want," says Siphon. "Yes, it's possible to bring in materials and have weapons and equipment made. In fact, the guild has signs about buying and trading materials. Materials from superior species are particularly valuable. There are materials that can be found reliably in other dungeons or by defeating monsters in the wild that are all down to luck here. But since encountering those monsters can be trouble, relying on the drop gaka here is definitely not bad. A lot of people work on the floors under the 40th, so not a lot of people get them. But when people are looking for specific materials and not money, there's a lot of trading, and I feel like bartering is how people mostly operate here. There's also the fact that if people want to pay money for them, they'll find that they're usually overpriced. Incidentally, Siphon and the others are looking for Wind Wolf materials to make a robe for Yano. Noto's party has been to the dungeon too, but they're taking it easy, because Shizune is taking Elsa and Alto along with her. A lot of adventurers want to get rich quick, but Noto and the others say they don't have money problems. Noto also said that in the future, they'll accept picking quests too, instead of just going to dungeons. I'm a little concerned about Elsa and Alto. But despite Noto and the others having low adventurer ranks, they definitely have the power of high ranks. I guess the issue would be bandits, but Argo said they'll follow them in secret when they go outside. I think they might as well go together then. You can't be overprotective forever, and with us around, they'll feel safe. Or I guess, not nervous enough, is what Argo says. But I think following them around in secret is overprotective enough. Noto and the others all have jobs geared for combat, so I feel like they'd be more stable if they had someone who could scout. Although I feel like others would be jealous of them just for having a magic user and a holy magic user. And since they can't just recruit a stranger, I guess they'll just have to train and get used to it. People of this world can scout without skills too. Like how people check the ground and trees for signs of monsters. It's all about experience. This all makes me feel really grateful for the many blessings of my walking skill. Walking in Another World, Chapter 579, First Dungeon, Part 13. Today, Noto and the others are going out to pick medicinal herbs. I give Elsa and Alto bracelets with shields, just in case. They say they're going to be out for 3 days and 2 nights, and they're going there on a wagon with other people part of the way, and then they'll walk the rest of the way. Can you make potions with them afterwards? I'm asked, and I nod. Of course, after they deliver their quota. So they're going by wagon. What are you going to do? We got a wagon, is what Argo says back to me, and Siphon smiles awkwardly. We're escorting them. He says wagons are useful, but they can't go everywhere, and they're going to be picking in the forest, so they need to leave the wagon outside the forest, which has to have people guarding it. We see Argo and Siphon's parties off too, and head to the dungeon. We fought Minotaurs until the 69th floor, but on the 70th, a King Minotaur is added as a boss. Having a superior species with them means the monsters that attacked as individuals are now under its command, bringing them better coordination. If the superior species falls, the rest is easy, but it's not that simple. Its subordinates are using shields. Our plan this time is to face them head-on. Take down the Minotaurs, and then go after the King Minotaur. Once we enter this floor, we see a King Minotaur and 10 Minotaurs, with more being added as time passes. But the limit is still 50. After that, no more spawn. Their way of fighting is quite simple, so Kana and I draw their attention, and the others keep taking them down. They keep taking turns using their skills to whittle them down, and Chris fires area of effect magic in between, until there's nothing but the King Minotaur. There are other times during the fight when all the Minotaurs are down. But rather than rush against the King Minotaur, we focus on taking out the 50 Minotaurs. It ends up taking longer than the floors that came before it, but we managed to safely take them all out. It was the King Minotaur's instructions, and support from a distance that led this to take so long. The Minotaurs were throwing the weapons the ones we took down used, with speed, power, and good timing. But after the first time, I used Provoke to make sure they didn't target the others. I blocked the first one with my shield, but started dodging with transfer after that. But I still used the shield when facing them. Finally, says Rurika, and we all nod. We've already recovered our MP and SP with potions. I stand in front with my shield, but I don't know if I can block it well. Even the weapons it threw carried a lot of force, so there's no doubt its swings are going to be really strong. The King Minotaur uses a two-handed axe that's over twice as big as Sarah's. First, Rurika and the others attack with throwing weapons. They have magic effects, and explode around the King Minotaur. It dodges and smacks them down with its axe, but a few hit it directly. But when the smoke clears, it's unharmed. I upped their power as much as I could because we don't have to worry about damaging materials here, but it did nothing. Its skin was covered in magic energy the moment the attacks hit. It's strengthening it. This is bad. If it can use that for defense, it must be able to use it for offense too. Could it be that the weapons it threw were infused with magic energy? I use magic energy detection and feel a strong magic energy reaction that surpasses even Chris. I assume it can't attack with magic, because it hasn't done that at all. But it also means he's using it all on his defense and physical attacks. The King Minotaur roars, and glares. Once I use Provoke, it dashes straight at me. It's fast, and it feels like a big boulder is approaching me. It already has its axe in the air by the time it reaches me, and it does all this with no wasted movements. It's an enemy, but I can't help but be impressed by how polished its movements are. I hold up my shield and use shield skills. When the axe is swung down and clashes against it, I change the angle of the shield to soften the attack. That should make it lose some power, but I still feel the impact in my arms. If I took that head on, I would have been blown away for sure. I feel its glare on me, and sense the next attack coming right away. Sure enough, it raises its axe lightly and starts swinging it at me. It may seem like it's just swinging it against me randomly, but it's expertly changing how much strength it puts into it, and swinging it in angles that make it hard for me to block. When I try to get some distance, it quickly gets close again with one big step. These attacks are tough one after the other, but when I move my eyes to the side, I see Roroku and the others behind it, ready to attack from a blind spot. Walking in Another World, Chapter 580, First Dungeon, Part 14. The sneak attack from behind hits the King Minotaur. Roroku swings her twin swords, Hikari thrusts with her dagger, Kana with her spear, and Sera cuts down with her axes. The only one that gets through is Sera's. The other three are blocked by the magic energy. They all infused their weapons with magic energy, but the King Minotaur swings its axe like it's swatting them out of its way. They all hurried to get away, and I move to attack now that it's distracted. I infuse the mithril sword with magic energy, and use sword slash. It notices my attack and tries to dodge, but I'm faster. My sword hits, but it's like it's crashing against something hard. But I do feel it breaking through the magic energy, and deal a bit of damage. That's soon healed. Sora, I hear Chris, and jump back like I'm being flung away. And then, the King Minotaur's body is covered in flames. The high temperature burns its face. It's so hot, and I hear a howl from the flames. After a while, the fire goes out, and I see the King Minotaur's body smoking. The surface of its skin is burned, but it's gradually healing. It's not down yet, but I can feel it lost a lot of magic energy. If attacking it saps its magic energy, then we might be able to take it down if we just keep at it. Right after I think that, the King Minotaur shakes its head, and yells as it turns to Chris, as if recognizing her power. Did the high firepower draw its aggro, or is it just seeing her as a threat? Either way, it's clear she's its target. I immediately try to draw its attention with provoke, but it doesn't work. Once it takes a step towards Chris, the others notice it and attack it, but it ignores them as it charges towards Chris. I won't make it on time either from where I'm standing. I could use transfer to get there, but I wouldn't be in a position to block its attack. Still, that's better than standing here, so I use transfer just as it gets near her and swings its axe. One of its blades was melted by the fire, but the other one is fine. If that hits her, it will be fatal for sure. I immediately hold up my shield, but since Chris is too close, I can't brush it off in an ideal direction. My position is less than perfect too, so I don't even know how well I'll block it. Still, it's all I can do. I'm ready to take the attack, but it never comes. Kana is between me and the King Minotaur. She has her shield up, and she blocked the attack. Her body is enveloped in light because Mia cast support magic on her. In that small window where Kana blocks the attack, Roroku and Hikari both use their skills, aiming for the monster's legs. The King Minotaur lets out a shriek and loses its balance, leading to its next slash hitting the ground. Kana jumps back when she sees this, but the momentum leads to her dropping her shield. The hand that was holding it crumbled. Hikari and Roroku are also stepping back, deciding they shouldn't use their skills continuously. The King Minotaur comes to attack again, but they bought me enough time to stand ready. Kana steps back along with Chris, and I step forward to attack. This time, my slash cuts deep. The monster's magic energy is clearly weaker, after Chris' magic and Roroku and Hikari's attacks. I slash again, but despite it not acting at all defensively until now, it dodges and puts some distance between us. But it's jumping to where Sera is waiting, and she swings with all her strength. The King Minotaur's unguarded back is slashed, and it yells while falling forward. The pain twists its face, and I see anger in its eyes, but I ignore that and attack. This slash meets no resistance, as the King Minotaur's head is cut, and its body disappears before it hits the ground. How is Kana? Her body is alright, but I think she needs some time. I answer Roroku's question. Kana's arm was destroyed, but it's a golem body, so it can be repaired. But when I repair it, she feels like something's off about her movements. It looks like it's going to take some time for her to move like before. And over there, King Meat. Looks like we got King Meat from the treasure chest. I feel like the further up we go, the easier it is to get meat, and the harder it is to get anything else. Maybe we're just not lucky, but most of us are happy with that. Hikari is the happiest, but Mia is pretty happy too. She's looking forward to cooking something good. What now? Argo and the others aren't here, so we could go to Ileana's place. I promised to do that when I went there to get Calotos. We're taking a break from the dungeon tomorrow anyway, so we might as well. I also want to check out information about the 71st floor. With the memory skill, I can remember everything in there, so we might be able to talk strategy too. Walking in Another World, Chapter 581, Dinner Party. After leaving the dungeon, I head to the reference room with Chris, and the others go back. They're going to buy ingredients, and tell Siphon and the others we're going to the Dragon Kingdom if they see them. We're going to make different kinds of food for Ileana, and they're also going to buy sweets that are hard for us to make. The exploration has come to a halt because of me. Kana is feeling bad about that, but it was her who protected Chris, so all we feel is thankful. It's possible to come back to life if one dies in that dungeon, but I've heard that the pain that accompanies that can actually kill people from shock, and to prevent that from happening, it's important to be prepared. I'm grateful for the information provided by the ones that came before us. We're checking the monsters that spawn on the 71st floor first. They are called hellhounds, canine monsters with black fur, that are twice as big as tiger wolves. One thing that's peculiar about the 71st floor is that only one monster spawns at first. Hellhounds spawn from the 71st to the 75th floors, but their power changes every time. Basically, it's like their strength changes at random. The problem with that is that the hellhound that spawns on the 71st floor might be stronger than the one that spawns on the 75th. We don't know their levels, so I'll have to use appraisal. And since I have analysis, I think it will be fine, but I won't know until I try. And then, we'll have to make decisions based on those levels. Another thing to keep in mind is that they have the ability to summon monsters to fight with them. There are records from investigations performed on this ability. The number of summons is limited, and the summoner becomes weaker with each summoning. It says that if we keep taking down the summoned monsters, the original one will eventually become as weak as a wolf. However, the summoned monsters are the same as the one that summoned them, meaning a hellhound will summon other hellhounds. The power of the summoner is reflected on the summoned monsters too. These two rules apply from the 71st to the 99 floors. If we get ready for long battles, I think it will be surprisingly easy. I don't know. I'm curious about how it doesn't mention how long it takes between summonings. If the original one keeps doing it, it might be trouble, depending on how strong it is. Chris is right. We keep reading, and see the number of monsters that can be summoned is random, and it can go from 1 to 10. But it also says that when it summons 10, it's not like the original one is weakened by a factor of 10. If I could check this with appraisal and add to the records, that would be nice. I wish we could see how this new monster is, but I don't think we'll have the time. Yes, let's just remember what we do know, and talk to everyone, says Chris. So I look through the information on hellhounds, before we leave to go meet the others. Map comes in handy at times like these. I just have to look at it to see where they are. And after we meet up, we go straight to Altair to see Ileana. Where have you been wandering? She's mad at Kalotos. I feel like we're responsible, because we were the ones going around with him, but Kalotos deals with her in a mature fashion. It looks like he's used to it. Maybe this happened a few times in that other world too. And while Kalotos deals with her, we start cooking. Master, leave the meat to me, says a confident Hikari. Talk to Mia and Chris when it's time to add the flavorings, I tell her. As for seeing when it's ready and stuff like that, no one's better than her. Hikari nods, and asks for ingredients. She wants to tackle that King Minotaur meat right away. I see. We're leaving enough for Elsa and Alto, and also Kotori and the others to try. I also have a lot of other meat, like Minotaurs. Chris is going to make soup with Rurika, Mia and Sarah are making stir-fry, and I'm going to make a pizza. I make a stone oven with Ileana's permission, and start prepping the dough right away. I'm mainly just making the dough, because Mia and Sarah are cutting the ingredients. Master, flavorings. What are you using? Salt and pepper for the king, and I want to try different stuff with the rest. So she's going with something simple, and ideal for actually eating it, and forget about different stuff. Ileana then comes over after talking with Kalotos. Just as I'm baking the pizza, her eyes are shining at all the food in front of her. See, can I even eat so much? Her throat is making a purring sound, but I don't think she can. I don't even think we can. But we're making this with the item box in mind. So, can I eat? I hold Ileana back while we finish up. After we put all the food on plates, I turn to her and nod. Here I go, she says, and she starts eating. She starts with the pizza, because she's never had it before. Is this rice? It's good. She tries everything one at a time, and gives it a satisfied nod. And we also enjoy the food as we talk about what we've seen and heard while traveling. Walking in Another World, Chapter 582, Preparation. After eating, We chat about our travels, but around the time when it's pretty much digested, we start having a strategy meeting about the 71st floor. I say strategy meeting, but we don't have a grand plan or anything. We only have two ideas: wait and see how they act first, or an all-out attack as soon as we start fighting. We really should go all out right from the start. I don't think they'll go down easily, but I think there's merit to it, says Rurika. I guess it's easy to have negative feelings and think we won't take them down if we don't fight with all we have, but fights with strong monsters tend to be drawn out. If anything, it's rarer for them to go down to the first attack. I think all out is good. Eliana agrees, even though I'm pretty sure she didn't really think about it. But no one objects. But who will attack? We can't all charge in, right? We should focus on Chris' spirit magic, Sora's spells, and Hikari's projectile slash. And Sarah and I can throw knives, I guess. Mia and Kana can be ready for a counterattack. This sounds like a compromise, because when Chris uses spirit magic, there's always the danger of it catching everyone fighting up close. When it gets to be that powerful, it has a wide area of effect, save for a few exceptions. Of course, that area of effect can be tuned, depending on the user, but messing with it too much will bring the power down. Although for me it's easy, because I have skills like parallel thinking and magic energy control. After talking it over, we decide that we'll buy time with long-range attacks until Chris' spirit magic is ready. I want to cast appraisal on them, but sometimes it doesn't work when the target is far away, so I'll do that if the Hellhound doesn't go down to that first strike. The problem is what the Hellhound will do if it doesn't go down. Will it get mad and charge forward? Summon other monsters? If it summons a lot of monsters, I can use Provoke to draw aggro while the others take them down one at a time. But how am I going to be able to hold them? Kana can guard too, but this really is a party that's mostly about attacking. Rurika and the others can handle them one-on-one, unless the Hellhounds are really agile. But it might be tricky when they are fighting multiple ones at the same time. According to Hikari, they won't lose to a Hellhound so soon if it's one-on-one, even if it's fast. She says that four-legged monsters tend to have a higher variety of attacks, but the basic moves aren't all that different. I don't really understand that. When I tilt my head, she says she'll teach me later. That's kind of troubling, because of how strict she is. She's not going to do anything that could kill me, but I know how tough she can be. Once things are mostly decided, they start doing mock battles, centered around Kana so she can get used to her new arm. The rest of us have tea with Eliana. Well, I'm having tea. The others are having the sweets they bought in Fuzz. Eliana likes them a lot, and she stuffs her small mouth to the point where she chokes. No one's going to take them from you, so you can take it easy. Mia then starts talking about the sweets, and I'm assuming she heard that from the person that sold them. Eliana listens with a serious expression. Are the things as good as this in other towns? I guess it varies. Also, a girl called Ryra recommended this store to us. Ah. The girl that keeps being bothered by the Beast King. I guess that's how Eliana sees her. She's not wrong. What are you going to do, Sora? Raise the level of the blacksmith skill, I guess. If I can get it higher, I'll be able to strengthen equipment too. It won't be ready in time for this dungeon, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us. I can make a new knife with alchemy, and attach magic. By using combine, I can attach lightning magic too. Fire is stronger from the point of view of raw power alone, but lightning can numb the targets too. I'm going to be making a few of those, because I don't see the limit of my item box. If I don't use them, they can just stay there, and if the time comes, I can use them all at once. I guess I'll have to buy more, or should I just put out a quest with the Merchant or Adventurer Guild? Although there would have to be a fixed deadline, because we're not staying in one place for very long. I think it would be easy to gather in a town near a mine, but a bit difficult in places where the means to obtain it are limited. I can get there quickly with transfer, but I would have to make sure I can transfer to that place first. My maximum MP goes down with each magic item I make, so eventually, I won't be able to use a lot of magic-related skills. Walking in Another World, Chapter 583, Fuzz Dungeon. Part 15. Well then, be careful. We say goodbye to Eliana and Kalotos, and go back to Fuzz. We ended up staying with them for 3 days, so Naoto and the others are already back by the time we arrive. So why do you look so troubled? Picking medicinal herbs was harder than I thought, says Naoto, and Rurika and the others nod. I just choose appraisal, so I don't even pay attention to their characteristics. Wait, could I do it without appraisal? I have the memory skill. Wait, then I'd just be relying on a different skill. But it's fun in its own way. Cooking outside is hard though. It's tough to do it every day, but they say it would be fun once in a while. There's also the fact that sleeping outside of town means having to stand watch. There are monster-repelling items, and Kotri can use spirit magic to watch out for trouble, so they still had an easier time resting than most. The day after returning to the city, we head back to the dungeon. And since Noto's party is going too, we can go together part of the way. After we say goodbye, we head to the 71st floor. But first, we confirm what we're doing. I prepared a lot of throwing weapons, but I ask everyone to tell me if they go through a third of them. If we spend that much on the first fight, we have to think about our plans going forward. Let's go. I take the lead as we enter the dungeon, but Kana is next to me. Hikari, Rurika, and Sarah are behind us, and Mia and Chris are behind them. If anything pushes through and targets our back row, I can use transfer, or Rurika can use Gale. After we all enter, a hellhound appears. I heard it was a large black canine, but it's more like a small truck. If that thing charges forward, it's going to have a big impact. I attached absorption to the shield, so I can soften it to some extent, but not completely. I cast appraisal while thinking that, but it's too far away. I could cast transfer, cast appraisal, and then retreat immediately, but that would take a lot of MP, not to mention that I don't know what it would do if I got closer. I can't carelessly approach a new monster like that. Instead, I cast thunder. My first strike is focused on speed, and Rurika and the others are using throwing weapons with a focus on firepower. Hikari is also throwing out a few projectile slashes. The magic hits, and so do the throwing weapons. There's a burst of flames, and Hikari's slashes fly into it like they're sucked into it. And then, Chris follows that up with spirit magic. Her fire spirit magic envelops the space around the hellhound, and then slowly shrinks. It's like the flames are crushing their target. Eventually, the flames are about the size of the hellhound, and suddenly explode. The gust it creates reaches all the way here, but I block it with Aura Shield. Chris explained it to me beforehand, so I was ready. I squint and focus while using presence detection and magic energy detection. I don't know if it didn't take evasive action or if it couldn't, but I can tell the hellhound's reaction is still there. No, I can feel its magic energy surging for a moment, and then see more of it. They're coming, I say, and 3 hellhounds leap from the smoke. As soon as I see them, I cast provoke, followed by appraisal. All 3 are level 63, but one is clearly injured. Did it take that first magic attack? Is that the main one? There are still flames in the back of the room, so I can't see very well, but I can tell there are no reactions. The 3 monsters rush towards me, but Sarah faces one, and Hikari and Rurika another. The one that's left is the one I assume is the main one, and I block it with my shield. Thanks to absorption, I can handle it much better than one would assume. I use that opening to counterattack, but the moment my sword hits, I can feel the concentrated magic energy. My mithril sword caught it, but it's not enough to take it down. However, it also doesn't mean it blocked it completely, and the monster steps away to take some distance. I can see blood where I hit it, but stepping back doesn't mean it's running away. I see magic energy gathering around its mouth, and then it howls. That howl carries magic energy. It feels like it's similar to intimidate, but I feel physical pain. Was I hit with a mass of magic energy? Since it's elemental and colorless, I can't see it. I managed to get ready, because it had to set up the attack. And I can sense magic energy too. However, while it wasn't that bad, I'm pretty sure the actual power behind it is pretty high. Even with Aura Shield, I still felt pain. I focus my eyes on the hellhound in front of me, and use parallel thinking to figure out how I'm going to fight it. Walking in Another World, Chapter 584, First Dungeon, Part 16. I focus on the hellhound in front of me, as the smoke in the back finally clears. There's nothing there, so this really is the main one. I'll fight this one. Kana, look after Mia and Chris. I ask her just in case, and put the shield in the item box, switching from defense to offense. Yes, every time I swing my sword, the monster strengthens itself with magic energy. However, it only protects one spot, and leaves everything else exposed, so when I attack with the sword and magic, or with the sword and throwing knives, one of the attacks hits. Do Sarah and Rurika have the advantage here, because they dual wield? I feel like it's the weapons themselves that have a lot of offensive power. I can tell it prioritizes blocking the sword when I attack. But still, I defend against its attacks, and I feel like I'm slowly cornering it. Also, it seems it has to gather up magic energy to summon monsters, so if I keep attacking it up close, it can't do that. And when Sarah and the others join me, the Hellhound is pushed fully on the defensive, and the fight ends. I didn't feel like it was all that hard. This one wasn't. But we can't pass judgment after the first one. I tell everyone what I saw on appraisal. I know its level, but who knows if this was one of the stronger or weaker ones. We're just going to have to keep going and find out. As I think that, Hikari runs over to me, looking pleased. Here. She gives me Hellhound meat, and I silently put it away in the item box. We'll have to look up how to cook it when we get back. What now? Should we keep going? It doesn't feel like anyone's tired. But fighting a new monster makes us more nervous than usual. In this case in particular, there's a lot of firsts, so we might be mentally tired. I think I just need a break and I'm good to go. Yes, no problem. I wanna fight another one to get used to it. If the Vanguard is alright, I guess we can go. Mia, Chris, and Kana seem fine too. How about we rest to recover magic energy, and then keep going? I already have mine back, but Rurika and Sarah need some more time. As we wait, we talk about the fight with the Hellhound, and say what we've noticed about it. Chris, can you shrink the area of effect when you attack? It will be less powerful, but it's doable. Then do that next time, and we'll use that opening to attack. Says Rurika. Is the idea that it will focus on guarding against magic and become weaker against everything else? If they can coordinate with the magic, that could be effective. That seems harder on Chris, but she's still raring to go. I guess it's because she doesn't get to do much after that first attack. Maybe she's not happy about that, but Mia is also mostly playing a support role, so Mia can actually use her staff as a weapon to fight at close range, or rather, for self-defense, but I think that would be hard with this level of monster. I think supporting is enough, but she might want to do a little more. Mia was trying out close-range fighting until around the 30th floor, but has refrained from it since. I think her physical abilities are going up, but her technique hasn't caught up. Also, I think she can hold her own against most adventurers, but that's because she's used to mox battles with people like Rurika and Hikari. Maybe things would be different if we were still fighting humanoid monsters. Should we get going? They've recovered their magic energy, so we're on to the next floor. Again, we start the 72nd floor with magic and skills. Only one monster emerges from the smoke this time, and it charges at us looking not very damaged. However, its magic energy reaction is weaker than when we squared off. I hold up my shield and use provoke, but feel a stronger impact than the last monster. Level 87. Its level being higher doesn't just mean it's stronger, it's faster too. Because of this, the others try attacking when they see an opening, but it dodges every time. The only hits it takes are from Hikari's projectile slash and Chris' spirit magic. That spirit magic is an area of effect attack, but also less powerful and the more focused on speed. And yet, it only hits when the timing is just right. This one's trouble. I keep throwing knives while using provoke, but I can't hit it when it's running all over the room. But I'm also blocking its attacks, so it's a stalemate. If the Hellhound summoned monsters, there would be more of them, but their level might go down. I'm thinking that might get things moving, but it doesn't do that even when I purposefully give it the room. I've come to understand another thing. Hellhounds regenerate magic energy. I guess the same goes for us, so it's not that strange for a monster to regenerate, but is this going to prolong the fight even more? I call Hikari to tell her that, and ask her to tell the others. Walking in Another World, Chapter 585, First Dungeon, Part 17. If it can regenerate, we have to rethink our attacks. Our first attack had a focus on power, so Chris chose Fire Spirit Magic. That's powerful, but the smoke that comes from the explosion makes it hard to see, and if she makes its area of effect smaller to prevent that, it will also lower its power. Then what if Chris kept firing it as much as her magic energy allowed? I guess since the room is pretty big, the Hellhound would move around so much that it would be hard to hit. The first hit was good because it spawned near the wall, limiting its movements. Sora, I'm coming to support. And then, Chris uses Wind Spirit Magic. At first I wonder why, but it doesn't take me long to get what she's thinking. Chris isn't trying to cause damage, she's pushing the Hellhound to a corner. It does cause some damage, but it's more like a way to bind an opponent. I think that as I charge forward, and although it tries to get away from us, it can't move as well as it wants. It escapes my provoke and gets through the others' attacks, but in the end, it's pushed back by a wall of wind Chris makes. Now, yells Rurika, and we all attack. Even Mia is firing holy arrows, but that's less to deal damage and more just to bother it. She keeps targeting its face to take away its vision. Meanwhile, Hikari uses projectile slash, and Rurika sinks her fast attacks using Gale with Hikari. And then, Kana, Sarah, and I attack at the same time. Sarah's attacks are the most threatening, so it makes sure to block against her, but in the meantime, Kana's slashes and thrusts deal damage. Hikari gets closer to and fires close-range projectile slashes, and after Sarah attacks, Rurika uses Gale to slash it with its momentum. The Hellhound finally falls, turning into particles of light. I'm tired, says Rurika while laying sprawling on the floor. I get that. We really had to use our full power to push it back at the end. Even I used more than half my MP and SP, and I have the benefits of natural recovery boost and walking. It wouldn't surprise me if the others were near empty. We could have used potions if we had the time, but we didn't have that luxury. In the end, we managed to beat it, but we might have failed if it had more stamina. That was an 87. The Hellhound? Yes, I cast appraisal. I say to Chris, after she responded to my mumble. I don't know how much difference a level makes, but I do know the second one was a lot harder to beat. What if it summoned others at that level? I don't really want to imagine it. Actually, it could have made it easier to beat, depending on how much it lowered its level. Rurika, Hikari, and Chris leveled up after this fight, so maybe things will be different if a Hellhound of this level appears again. We also have a new way to fight. And the treasure. Is it Hellhound fur? Everyone's tired, so I am the one who opens the treasure chest, because I recover faster than them. I can use the creation skill to make a robe and boots with this. Of course, I need other materials too. Should we end it here for today? I ask, and we decide to leave. But not just to rest, but to do stuff like mock battles too. They want to check out how they're doing, especially after the level up. If something doesn't feel right at the wrong time, that could cost someone their life. We head to the training area of the guild, and see there are a lot of people here. So we go to the castle instead. I hope the Beast King isn't around, and my wish is granted. But since Noto and the others are here, we train together. Mia finds a knight who uses a pole as a weapon, so she gets a lesson too. When I think of knights, I picture them using swords or spears, but apparently in the Beast Kingdom, armor is standardized, but weapons are not. Rather than making people use weapons that aren't their style, they want people to get better at what they're good at. Looks are important to knights, so accessories tend to be the same for everyone, but the weapons should be the ones that bring out their strength the most, is their idea. Well, seeing a group all dressed the same can be overpowering, and when they charge in unison, they seem more reliable. Actually, back in Epica in Elysia, the knights looked very reliable when they went out to hunt orcs, and even I stared at their gallant figures until they were out of my sight. Walking in Another World, Chapter 586, Preparation, Part 2. As we conquer the upper floors of the first dungeon, we learn that monsters can use their magic energy to strengthen themselves too. I don't know if it's because it's a dungeon or if wild monsters can do it too, but we'll have to deal with it. Chris Wind magic is good at keeping monsters in place, but it's not a simple technique, and it might not work on every monster, and so, I create an experimental weapon that has the absorption skill. Will it steal monsters' magic energy when it hits them? After trying it with Hikari's help, it does feel like it takes away MP the moment it cut me, even if not a lot. Also, Mia shows up while we're testing and gets mad, saying it's dangerous. Then the others show up, and when Mia explains what we're doing, Chris gets mad too, and Rurika and Sarah are exasperated. But what choice do we have? I can't test something like this when it's time to actually face monsters. Also, I have pain reduction, but I still don't like being cut, so I'm careful about that. Now, because my process was interrupted, I can't really complete it, even though I tested it. For example, how is the amount it absorbs decided? Is it a fixed amount? Is it depending on damage? The strength of the impact itself? Something else? I have no choice but to stop testing direct attacks, and instead see how it does when I infuse the shield with magic energy. Yes, the magic energy in the shield goes down? But is that because of absorption, or just because it blocked an attack? Oh well. Mia got mad because she cares about me, and I would have done the same if the roles were reversed. The only reason why I even tried to do things that way is because I can see exactly how MP goes down by checking my stats. Can you attach that effect to our weapons too? This looks like it's kind of hard to handle. I explained to Rurika that when I use a weapon with absorption, it also affects the magic energy that I infuse. That means they wouldn't be able to attack with magic energy anymore. Or rather, it would take a lot of magic energy, I guess. Then it's better to use it on a spare weapon, right? Asks Rurika. Yes, that's possible, but what if she had to switch weapons in the middle of combat? I feel like it could be dangerous. An item pouch can fix that problem. Ah, but wouldn't my attack power go down because I wouldn't be using a mithril sword? I have mithril in the item box, but not enough to make weapons for everyone. Mithril is precious too, so getting more isn't easy. It's expensive, and people love weapons made out of it, so when it reaches the market, people fight over it. Anyway, taking compatibility into account too, I think it's best if I only make them for Rurika and Hikari. It feels like it would match well with Rurika's Gale. And since Hikari uses a dagger, her weapon doesn't use as much mithril. Conversely, I'm excluding Sarah because she doesn't have a lot of magic energy to begin with, and Kana because she has a golem body, and it can't be maintained if its magic energy is sapped. Wouldn't this be effective on throwing weapons too? We won't know until we try. I can set it so the absorption effect activates on impact, but thrown weapons tend to be dodged. That's why it's more effective to have something like an explosive effect, that works even if the enemy is only near the weapon. If it's not a lot of trouble, you should do it. It doesn't hurt to have more options. Rurika is right. It really doesn't take that much effort, as long as I have the materials. Then I think we should go shopping. The dinner party with Miss Eliana cost a lot of ingredients as well. Chris is right. We really did use a lot. There's still enough in the item box that we won't have trouble, but still, I'll feel better that way. And it's not bad to take a walk around town either. Elsa and Alto are also free, so it's a good time to ask them and Shizune to go out shopping. We leave, and Shun and Noto stay behind. It's been a while since the tournament, but people still approach them pretty frequently when they're out, and we have to deal with it when we're with them. We end up staying out until just before the sun sets, and when we return, I start working on throwing knives right away. We used a lot of the others too, so I make more. These ones have fire, these have wind, these absorption. I make sure to separate them by color so there's no confusion, and tell everyone what the colors mean when I give them the knives. Thanks. Let's go to sleep early, so we're ready tomorrow. We're going to the 73rd floor tomorrow, but I wonder what level of Hellhound we'll find. In any case, we have a few tactics in mind that use Chris Wind Spirit magic, and we go to sleep early like Rurika said. Walking in Another World, Chapter 587, First Dungeon, Part 18. We got through the 73rd and 74th floors without issue. On the 73rd floor, the monster charged at us from the beginning, and we engaged it. Thankfully, it was only level 60, so we took it down by fighting it head-on. We didn't use the weapons with absorption, and attacked it from all sides. On the 74th floor, the monster summoned more at the start. There were 7, not counting the main one, and appraisal showed me level 81. It was pretty tough. I used Provoke to gather a lot of them, and held on while Mia supported me, and Rurika and Hikari followed Sarah as they reduced their numbers. Chris was also mostly on support, holding them back, so we somehow managed to bear it. Kana focused more on hit-and-run attacks, drawing the attention of Hellhounds when it got to be too much for me, and also stopping them from going after the back row. The biggest issue came when there were only 2 summoned monsters left, and it summoned more. This time, it was 9, meaning there were a total of 13. Thankfully, these monsters get weaker from summoning. When I appraised the last one, I saw it went down to level 72. Dropping close to 10 levels meant we had the advantage, and Rurika and Chris worked together to press the main one, which went down before it could summon more. Sarah going on a rampage and taking them down one after the other helped a lot. So there are multiple patterns. Yes, it's trouble. Hikari meekly agrees with Rurika. Yes, They do act differently as we go from floor to floor. It's almost like we're being tested. I heard the god that made this dungeon was a musclehead who loved training, so could that be why? If this is a dungeon that learns, does that mean monsters come up with ways to counter our counters? Am I overthinking it? If that was the case, it would have made sense for that to happen on the lower floors too. On the 74th floor, we had the opportunity to use the weapons with absorption, and they really did suck up magic energy. Apparently they absorb a set amount, regardless of the damage they do. I don't mind the downside of having less magic energy just from holding it if it means I can attack in a sequence, but I also think it's dangerous to get flustered and go on the offensive too much because of it. I guess these weapons really might be tricky to use. It would be good if I could rework them so they wouldn't absorb the holder's magic energy, but, for some reason, it happens even if the effect is infused on the blade. I fail to find a solution to that, and then it's time to enter the 75th floor. The moment we enter, the Hellhound charges forward. Its speed is not the best we've seen. Is it under level 80? We choose not to go too far forward, and instead confront it. But then the Hellhound does something different. Summon. Rurika is surprised, as the Hellhound summons monsters while running. It happens as it's closing in on us, so the summoned monsters descend like an avalanche. Since the Hellhound was very close, I can't use Provoke before it summons the others, so they start attacking everyone. I block one of them, and use Provoke on the main one. I want at least that one to target me. I look to the side, and see there are 4 summoned monsters. Sarah, Rurika, and Kana are all dealing with one each. It's a good thing there aren't a couple more, or they might attack the back row. Sora, I'm coming to support. Master, supporting. Chris and Hikari decide to take down the summoned monster attacking me, and attack the boss. It's probably because it's just going to summon more otherwise, and so, they support me while keeping the boss in check to make sure it can't summon any more. I sync my movements with their attacks while attacking the main one and defeating the others. When Hikari uses projectile I slash shortly after, and when Chris fires magic, I cast a shield on myself and attack the summoned one. The summoned one goes down, and I use transfer to jump at the main one to cut at it. My choice to use transfer cones from the spike of magic energy I feel in the Hellhound. Is it trying to summon more, or use that magic energy cannon? In any case, I can't let it do it. At this point, if I face the boss and the others take out the summoned monsters, it's practically over for them. However, I realize I'm being too naive, when one of the summoned monsters summons more, which is something I thought only the main could do. Walking in Another World, Chapter 588, First Dungeon, Part 19, Rurika's Point of View. When we enter the 75th floor, the Hellhound charges at us. It's slower than the one on the previous floor, so I wonder if it's under level 80. But I soon notice that's not right. Summon. I let out without thinking. Did it slow down on purpose to give itself time to summon others? They never summoned anything while moving before, so it catches us completely off guard. One of the 4 summoned Hellhounds heads towards me. I jump back to dodge it as it attacks with its front legs, but the slash I unleash as I land doesn't feel right. I look around while still paying attention to the monster in front of me, and see Sora taking on 2, and Sarah and Kana taking on 1 each. None of them are going after Chris and Mia, so that's a relief. I can focus on the one in front of me. Also, Chris and Hikari are supporting Sora. If Sora can beat the summoned monster in front of him and draw the boss towards him, we can beat the others. At that point, victory will be ours. But then something unexpected happens. Sora and the others beat the summoned monster Sora was facing, and as Sora faces the boss, Chris and Hikari come over to support us. But then the 3 remaining summoned monsters change. They gather, with 2 in front and 1 behind them, and fight in that formation. The 2 in front attack from up close, while the other fires magic bullets from behind it. Kana guards Chris and Mia, while the rest of us go out to try to beat them. Hikari takes on one of them, while Sarah and I beat the other one in front. I quickly swap my weapons to the ones with the absorption skill, but after taking 1 hit from Sarah, the Hellhound designates her a threat and pays less attention to me. I use that opportunity to sap its magic energy. Hikari and Chris also decide this is the time to attack, and attack this same hellhound. The hellhound is clearly at a disadvantage before these fierce attacks. The body that was being guarded against our attacks is now visibly wounded. But just as Sarah lands the final attack, we hear the same thing we heard at the start, and suddenly, 10 new monsters are summoned. I peek over at Sora, and see him fighting the boss. Then what happened? It was the other hellhound that took distance from us before we knew it. It was attacking from a distance at first, but we didn't notice it stopped. Was it so it could summon? But the records in the guild didn't say anything about summoned monsters summoning others. Kana, look after Chris and Mia. Sarah, Hikari, let's reduce their numbers. It'd be nice if Sora could help, but that's no good at this point. I swap to the mithril swords, and use Gale to start slashing. My top priority is to take down as many as I can. Chris also uses fire spirit magic while Kana covers her. Hikari uses projectile slash without holding back, and Sarah pushes towards the monsters to furiously swing her axes. Thankfully, summoning more monsters means they got weaker too, but the big number of monsters is still troubling. Not to mention that when Chris uses her area of effect magic to defeat several of them, they continue summoning others. We managed to take a few down too at the start, but we can't keep up at this rate. The fact that our stamina is slowly going down doesn't help things. As for wounds, Mia's holy magic means they don't stay on us for very long. Normally, people have to be closer to the target to heal, so she must be trying really hard to be able to heal from a distance. Rurika, you're too far forward! Thanks Sora. That was dangerous. Going too far forward means getting surrounded. I knew that, but the way the hellhounds keep coming made me rush. I take a deep breath and look around. There really are too many. Sora is firing magic while fighting the boss, but we can't keep up. Should we hang on until they can't summon anymore? That's no good. What we read in those documents was about the boss summoning monsters. Then what? Our only choice is to take them down faster than they can be summoned, but there are just not enough of us. We can do area damage with magic infused throwing weapons, but they are not powerful enough to actually beat them. At most, we can deal some damage and disturb their incantations. Should we rely on Chris? No. Even she has a limit. All we can do is keep trying. But there are too many. There's only one option, but I've never done it. Still, I have to. Sarah, I'll deal with the ones on the left, so take care of the ones on the right. I give Chris a signal too, so she knows which I'm targeting. Then I infuse the mithril swords with magic energy, and run towards the hellhounds with the Gale skill. But I'm not doing it to attack while I move. I'm doing it to increase the rotation speed of my arms. I don't know if I can do it, but no, I have to. I get closer like I always do, go under the hellhound's front legs, and swing my swords while using Gale. I slash, and slash at an incredible speed. My body is screaming and it feels like my arms are going to get ripped off me, but even as it feels like the wounds will force me to stop, I keep at it. A light engulfs me and soothes the pain. It's Mia. But it soon starts hurting again. This keeps repeating as I keep taking them down. Cut, cut, cut. I keep moving my legs while cutting to dodge them, again, and again, and again. The time it takes to take one down has sharply gone down. One goes down, then another, and then another near it. Before I know it, there isn't a single hellhound near me. I turn around and face where they were, but I lose strength in my legs and collapse. But someone catches me. Walking in Another World, Chapter 589, First Dungeon, Part 20, Mia's Point of View. I bite my lip. Hikari and the others are in front, fighting the hellhounds that won't stop coming. All we can do is support them with magic, while Kana covers for us. Chris keeps firing it, and I'm wondering how many mana potions she's had at this point. As she finishes off one more, I keep following the others' movements as I throw heal at them, and cast more support magic before the effect wears out. That's all I can do, so I grip my staff tightly. If I could fight like them, no, half, or a quarter as good as them, then Kana would be free to move around too, and the others wouldn't be as pressured. But reality isn't like that. Rurika and the others have been teaching me how to exercise in our travels, including when they teach me along with Elsa and Alto in the Beast Kingdom. But when it comes to actually fighting monsters, I started having trouble after the 50th floor. Rurika and the others say I don't have to try too hard, but it's still irritating. My physical abilities are actually higher than theirs, but I'm still so far away. It's the difference in experience. Sora has a lot of skills, but he says that skills are basically just a start. That's why he makes sure to train through mock battles. Well, I get the feeling that he's kind of dragged into it by the others too. Then something happens. Ruroka turns this way and does something. Her eyes are on Chris. It looks like Ruroka is going after the Hellhounds on the left side. She's asking to keep them in check, mostly with support magic, so it really was some sort of signal. Chris takes a deep breath, and chants spirit magic again. She's using wind and water, even though she said using two at the same time causes a big strain on her. I cast support magic on her, and turn to Ruroka, who dodges attacks and gets close like always, before swinging her swords. But then, what I see makes me open my eyes wide. Her arms are moving so fast, they're leaving after images. Every time she swings a sword, the area around her is painted faintly red. She has her mouth closed tightly, like she's enduring something, so I cast heal. But I can't focus on just her, even if my eyes are following her before I know it. She's moving incredibly fast, taking out a hellhound, and then another. She's taking them down faster than even Sarah. In fact, faster than Sarah and Hikari together. The hellhounds seem to sense she's a threat, and one of them escapes from Chris' magic to go after Ruroka. Still, Ruroka gets near it, and takes it down. Then it gets quiet around her. The hellhounds around her are all down, so she raises her head and her body wavers a lot. I peek towards Sarah and Hikari, and then run. I'm worried about making it in time, because she's far away, but I manage to catch Ruroka before she hits the floor. Her body feels light, her exposed arms are red, and I feel heat from her. I hold my hand over her, and cast heal. Mia, are you okay? You really pushed yourself there. Thanks. I need to go to the others. She tries to get up, but her face twists. Heal worked. But she's not healed. I cast it again, and she looks relieved somehow. You need to rest. I offer her my shoulder, and we go back to Chris and Kana. Actually, they move over here, while Chris uses magic. Ruroka, don't push yourself so much. You're one to talk, Chris. Chris' eyes are moist, but Ruroka has a point. Chris pushes herself a lot. Look after Ruroka here. I will go support Sarah and Hikari, says Kana, and she runs out before we can respond. It was a little pushy, but that really is for the best for Ruroka. With Kana gone, there's no one to cover for us, so Ruroka has to stay here. I'm sure she took that into account, I think. Anyway, you two need to rest. Thanks to Ruroka, their numbers went down a lot. There's less than 10 summoned monsters. Ruroka took down a lot, but also, thanks to the summonings making them weaker, Sarah and Hikari are also taking down more. But they're also pushing themselves a lot, so their movements are getting worse. Still, now that Kana is the two, they can end it. Let's go too, says Ruroka, and I cast heal on Hikari and Sarah as I walk towards them fast. My holy magic can heal wounds, but not exhaustion. Let's recover some stamina first, and support them from a distance until then. We nod, and look at Sora, who is fighting the boss. Walking in Another World, Chapter 590, First Dungeon, Part 21. The Hellhound boss is strong. It's level 70, so it's not actually high level compared to the ones on the other floors, but it feels strong because I'm fighting it alone. Up until now, I would block their attacks while the others attacked them. That's how we took the others down, and it was basically a surefire way to win. I can hear noises from fighting behind me, and use presence detection. I sense more presences, which can only mean one thing. The summoned monsters are summoning more. I want to go help, but I can't leave this one alone. It will definitely summon more if I do. Then I know what to do. Trust the others, and hold the boss until they can back me up, or take it down. But it feels like the monster knows this too, and it takes distance when it sees an opening. I can't catch it with my speed alone, so I need skills to make up for it. When it moves away, I use transfer to get close, and stop it from summoning. What's troubling is that it uses its ability to summon as bait to counterattack. And yet, even though I know that, I can't let it get too far from me, and have to use transfer. The monster knows this, and makes use of it. The first time it does this, I'm hit kind of badly, but I block with my shield the second time, and evade the third time. This is thanks to my new memory skill. I can use it to get a good grasp on my opponent's movements, and predict what it will do next. I got it to learn how Shun and the others fought, but it works with monsters too. That said, the size discrepancy means that normally, I can't make use of it that much, but it's good for a prolonged fight against this hellhound one-on-one. I block one of its attacks, and attack with the sword with the absorption skill. It hits, but it's completely blocked. Still, with every hit, it takes away some of its magic energy, but at this rate, I'm going to run out first. I use the MP conversion skill to stop that from happening, and the natural recovery boost skill is also helping. I don't have time to walk around in this fierce back and forth, so my walking skill isn't doing much. I look at my stats, and swap my sword. I say swap, but what I really do is block an attack with my shield, and use that opportunity to put the sword in the item box, and take out another weapon. It's partially because I can do this so quickly that I'm free to fight on my own. I would be doing better if I could drink mana potions, but it won't let me. I have to use the mithril sword while my MP and SP recover, and once they do, I swap back to the absorption weapon again. This keeps repeating, and eventually, there's a change in the reactions on this floor. I use presence detection, and feel reactions disappearing at an incredible speed all of a sudden. I'm curious about what's happening, but I face the boss and swing my sword. I feel like it's losing its luster the more reactions disappear, and my attacks are working better. I'm sure it can tell what's happening. Unfortunately, I can't look behind me, but that could actually be for the best. I keep attacking, and the magic energy I feel from the boss is considerably weaker. I try my best not to look away, as I carefully sap its magic, and sometimes strike more boldly. Eventually, it screams, as its flesh is ripped and blood sprays. I'm keeping track of the disappearing reactions, and I wonder if I should keep attacking or wait for the others. But this only lasts for a moment, because I quickly decide to attack. The reasons are time, and the fact that I don't know what might happen anymore. I'm worried because something happened that wasn't in the materials we read. The summoned monsters summoned more, and so, I focus on attacking, using swordmaster skills here and there, and the hellhound is pushed into being fully on defense. I press it against a wall, and pay attention to its movements. And then, as I feel reactions disappearing behind me, I finish off the boss. Walking in Another World, Chapter 591, Report and Rest. The exhaustion comes rushing in after the boss is down. I did a good job taking it down, but that's because I could focus and fight it one-on-one. I get up, and when I start to walk slowly, the exhaustion disappears like it was never there, but I'm sure it will come rushing again if I stop. Master, you took it down alone. It's because you all took on the others. I look at all of them, and everyone except Kana and Mia looks exhausted. Hikari came over to speak to me, but I can see big beads of sweat on her forehead. Rurika looks the worst out of the four of them. She's conscious, but she's lying down, like even sitting is rough for her. I don't see any wounds, most likely because Mia healed them, but her heal can't take away exhaustion, and neither can potions. We decide to rest for a bit. I recover faster if I walk too, but I can't relax when I'm walking around when I'm supposed to be resting. If we were in a boss room of the dungeon in Majolica, there would be a line of people waiting to use it, but we don't have to worry about that here. I'm pretty sure that out of all the people who use the dungeon nowadays, only the Beast King's party has made it this far, and they've stopped going up. Especially now that there's a lot to deal with after the tournament. Master, I can see a treasure chest. I don't know if she already recovered or if she's just curious, but Hikari gets up, and goes over to it. As I watch her go, I think that we should leave after she comes back. I have camping equipment in the item box, but I'd rather go back to the bed in the inn. Mia, how's Rurika? She fell asleep. I think she's just very tired. Can we move her? I ask, because she should rest in the inn too. Yes, I think that would be better. And so, we get going after Hikari comes back. By the way, it's Sarah who's carrying her. I have more stamina but, you know, we split into two groups after we leave. We need to report that we passed the 75th floor, and, should we report to them in more detail? Chris, should we explain the rest tomorrow? I'm alright, so I can do it now. What about you, Hikari? Yes, today. Then we can rest easy in the inn tomorrow. If they're okay with it, let's report. It's not like we're forced to say what happens in the dungeon, but we're going to report on this new incident anyway, because of how much the materials left by the people who came before us helped us. We notice the room is a bit noisier when we enter it. There weren't that many people here at first, because of the tournament, but people are using the dungeon again. And since we're used to seeing the same people here, the new ones stand out. Also, we know people like Shun and Noto, who did well in the tournament, and because of the attention that brings us, they're also starting to see us as the party that's making its way up the dungeon. We have information about the 75th floor, Chris says to a receptionist, who then takes us to a room. It's in here that we tell the guild employee what happened. I see. Thank you. We will add this to the documents. She's surprised at first, but listens to us and takes notes. She says they might ask more in a few days, but we're fine with it. Once we're done here, we head straight to the inn. How is Rurika? She's sleeping. She's not hurt, but she's having trouble talking. She has no appetite either, but she at least had some soup. She'll take longer to get better if she doesn't have something to eat. Then we all go rest, and go have dinner after the sun sets. That's also when Noto and the others come back, and they notice something's wrong because Rurika isn't here. We eat first, and then talk, because we don't want it to get cold. Shun and the others look impatient, but Kt prompts them to eat. Then we talk about what happened in the dungeon, and everyone's surprised. I'm glad it didn't turn into something serious. So you're taking the day off tomorrow? That's the idea. There's no reason to push ourselves, and new monsters will appear from the next floor forward, so we need to read up on them anyway. They spawn the same way as the monsters from the 71st floor forward, but we just got hit with the reality that things not mentioned in the documents might happen, so we might need to update that information. Should we also discuss things that might happen? Well, nothing really comes to mind. I guess all we can do is make sure we have a good stock of disposable items. Walking in Another World, Chapter 592, Orthros. The next morning, Rurika stays in the inn and the rest of us go out. We need to restock on disposable items and get our equipment repaired, but Elsa and Alto, and Shizune, are looking after Rurika. She's feeling a lot better than yesterday, but not perfect. She has a strong sense of responsibility, so she didn't want to stay and rest, but didn't complain, because Elsa and Alto will be looking after her. She lied down when Elsa asked, but Mia is still worried about her, so we get what we need as quickly as we can. And then Mia and Kana go back to the inn, and the rest of us head to the guild. We're going there to read about the dungeon. Our next floor will be the 76th, and the monster that will be spawning from here to the 80th floor is one called Orthros. It's a dog monster with 2 heads, and I guess its most notable feature is that it can use magic. Apparently the element they use depends on the individual. For example, one can use wind magic, and another might use water. So they use magic, apparently, but they summon more monsters too. It says here that attacks don't work as you'd think at first, so apparently they're also like the Hellhounds in that they boost their defense with magic energy. But I'm assuming using magic attacks also means they spend their magic energy faster. The issue is how much magic energy they have, but I'll have to check that with magic energy detection. I also need to be careful, because that changes with the level of the individual monster. It says here that Orthros have been reported to use fire, water, wind, and earth magic. Chris' expression is stiff as she says this. Maybe she's thinking they might actually use other kinds. Yes, that is possible. Also, the document says they use area of effect magic. The floors of the dungeon are relatively wide, but we're still limited in space to dodge. Are we going to have to block magic rather than dodging it? I can use Shield Master skills to block it, but the others fighting on the front line can't do that. But even if I use a shield, those skills will wear off if I'm attacked, so they won't do if I'm attacked repeatedly. What about a wall of magic energy, like the Hellhounds used? No, that's no good either. That worked for them because they had a massive amount of magic energy. Sora, how about we take a break? Yes, relax a little. You can say what you're thinking. The 3 of them say as I think on my own. I guess it showed on my face. Yes, I shouldn't think alone, we should be formulating plans together. Yes, if they summon more and then attack with magic at the same time, I think we just have to bear it. / Maybe bigger throwing axes would have more of a punch to them. They say after I tell them what's on my mind. We also talk about forming groups to get close to them and attacking them all at once. Aura Shield's range is wide enough to cover a good area, So now the issue is whether or not it can take multiple attacks. Would it work with Chris creating a wall and Mia casting support magic? It depends on the type of magic too, but I think we can deal with elements other than earth. Earth magic is basically like throwing lumps of earth in a way, so it's more like a physical attack. Would it be hard to block that with magic? Making a thick wall of magic could work, but that would block our vision too. I can use magic energy detection to know when magic is coming, but the others can't. Depending on how much magic energy they have, making them defend and sapping their magic energy is also an option. How about we talk to the others too when we get back? Rurika and Chris really are the best combo when it comes to cooking up strategies. With Chris' knowledge and Rurika's dynamism, they can propose things that don't cross our minds. We stop by one more store before we go back, to buy stuff like ore. I could buy weapons sold in stores, but making them from ore using alchemy is cheaper, and I can make nice things with the blacksmith skill. Also, the level of the skill goes up the more stuff I make, which in turn improves the quality of the weapons. But even now, I can make weapons that are better than average, although they're not up to Dark's level. Also, it will take some time for us to go to the dungeon again, depending on how long it takes for Rurika to recover. Walking in Another World, Chapter 593, Cooking. When I get back to the inn, I see Rurika is looking a lot better. I leave her with Chris and Sarah, and borrow the kitchen along with Hikari. And when Mia and Elsa hear we're cooking, they tag along. Master, meat? Yes, let's use King Minotaur and Hellhound meat. Hikari smiles broadly. She's probably looking forward to tasting Hellhound the most, because we've never had it. I know how to cook it thanks to the skill, so I follow it, and give Mia and Elsa instructions as we go along. The most important part is to cut the sinew well and prepare it before we cook it, or it will be hard to bite into it. I don't think I could cook this without the skill. And Mia and Elsa really are good, because they understand how to do it properly by just watching me demonstrate and hearing my explanation. As I watch Mia briskly cook, I think about how different she is compared to when we first met. Cooking for us so many times really improved her skills. Can you roast this, Hikari? Yes. Leave it to me. There's not much to watch out for when it comes to cooking Hellhound meat. It's pretty much the same as any other, so I leave it to Hikari. As for the seasoning, I make sure to tell her to tell me when it's time to season it. If we cook it here, we'll save ourselves some trouble while traveling. All thanks to the item box. At this point, it's pretty clear to me why Rurika and Chris told me back then that if it was known that I had spatial magic, I'd be invited to join parties for sure. This one thing really changes the life of an adventurer. And so, I store everything we're cooking in the item box, except what we're eating today. We go back to the room after we're done, and Siano is also here to check up on Rurika. We invite her to eat with us, so we end up eating with her party, Argos, and Nutters. Siphon is the one that's happiest about this, because most of the time, when we eat together like this, he's allowed to drink. When people drink, we split into two groups to eat, drinkers and non-drinkers. The issue isn't that drinkers like Siphon are bad drunks, or that they're annoying. It's the smell. Miharu and Kotri in particular hate it, and because of the environment Elsa and Alto grew up in before they met us, they aren't really bothered. As for the otherworlders, Noto and K drink, and Kt in particular is strong against it. According to Shun, they've never seen her drunk. That said, she doesn't actively drink. It's just that she'll drink when invited. Apparently there was one time when Noto asked Shun how strong he was against alcohol, but his face just twitched and he said nothing. WL, the world of drinking is incomprehensible for non-drinkers. I shake my head and look at Hikari filling her mouth. And Alto. Hikari was always like this, but Alto has been eating a lot lately. His body is also bigger compared to when we first met. Maybe going to the dungeon is related to it too. He used to hide behind Elsa a lot, but he hasn't been doing that lately. In fact, sometimes he jumps in front of Elsa. She looks happy when that happens, but a little sad too. Elsa wipes Hikari and Alto's mouth here and there, and she tries different kinds of food. As I watch them, I suddenly think about what we'll do after we're done with the dungeon here. Maybe it's too early to think about it, but we'll be going to another dungeon next. When that happens, it will be hard to bring them along. There are 5 dungeons remaining, and 3 are in the Empire. My impression of the Empire is all kinds of bad. There's the enslavement and bad treatment of Sarah, but the adventurers from the Empire I've met on my travels were the worst too. I feel bad taking them somewhere like that. We have the future to think about too. Maybe that's not for me to worry about, but I can't help it. I guess that will be up to Elsa and Alto themselves, and I should leave the rest to Chris and the others. I still have the sense of values of the world I came from, so my way of thinking is different. Anyway, let's enjoy the food today, and prepare tomorrow. We'll be preparing to go to the 76th floor, so I'll be pretty busy with stuff like making weapons with alchemy, and making a good number of disposable amulets with shields. Walking in Another World, Chapter 594, First Dungeon, Part 22. Rurika has recovered, and after she gets back into shape and feels 100%, we get back in the dungeon. I've been busy sharing what we learned from documents, and making all that equipment with alchemy. Rurika, Hikari, and Sarah have been pretty focused on reviewing their new skills, or rather, training to use them to their fullest. Rurika showed a new way to use her Gale during that last fight, so Hikari is looking for more possibilities too. So that's an Orthros, a two-headed beast, one with red eyes and one with green eyes. Does that mean it uses fire and wind? The documents said we can tell what magic they use by the color of their eyes. The Orthros roars and charges at us. I step forward, and Hikari throws out projectile slashes because we're worried about it summoning others while moving. I also attack with earth magic while moving forward. The Orthros doesn't dodge it, and doesn't slow down either. I brace myself and hold up my shield to prepare for the attack, and also cast Appraisal. It says this Orthros is level 77. It's 2 levels higher than the Hellhound that was on the 75th floor, but I feel like that Hellhound's charge was stronger. Then we keep fighting it up close, but it goes down strangely easily. That was disappointing. It didn't even use magic. I felt it gathering magic energy, so I think it was trying to use it. Say Rurika, Sarah, and then Chris. I did catch reactions here and there when it was concentrating magic energy, but they got weaker when we attacked. And it was slower than the Hellhounds. Our attacks often hit it. Say Rurika and then Kana. I think the way we managed to keep it surrounded played a big part. No matter where it tried to dodge, there was always someone waiting. We kept slowly closing in on it, until it was completely cornered and defeated. So what now? Should we keep going? Suffice to say, none of us look tired. We can take a break first. I want to check my equipment too. No one objects to Rurika's suggestion. I want to check my sword and shield too, and see what disposable items everyone used. We didn't get to use any of the anti-magic items, but we did use throwing weapons. Not many, but still, we should have a grasp on how many we have left. Then I restock everyone's stuff, because we can't do that during a fight. The item pouches they use have good capacity, but they're still limited. Sarah in particular has to carry big throwing axes, so she can't store as much as Rurika or Hikari. Still, it's not much of a problem, because she can display her power more if she fights up close anyway. After a 10-minute break, we head to the 77th floor, where we beat another monster without a tough fight. Their eyes are also red and green, and they shoot fire and wind magic right at the start, but I block it all with Aura Shield. Chris casts Spirit Magic, and Hikari attacks with Projectile Slash. Rurika takes Sarah with her using Gale. We use the opening they give us to get close, and we all take it down. At the end, it shoots a fireball, like it doesn't care if it gets caught in it too, but Rurika and Sarah deflect it. This doesn't cause any damage, because of the magic items, but it shows that they are able to use magic even if they are being attacked. Monsters use grunts instead of words, but we can tell when they're going to use magic when they start gathering magic energy. At least now we know that there's no exact method to stop them from using magic, but from now on, we have to act knowing we might not be able to stop them from summoning more monsters. We shouldn't think about it too deeply. In fact, we should just be happy to learn that. Rurika is right. Let's just keep that in mind from now on. Say Rurika and Chris. They're right. It's good that we learned. We might have been thrown off if a monster summoned more when we thought it couldn't, and an opening like that can mean the difference between life and death. We take another break, and advance to the 78th floor. Walking in Another World, Chapter 595, First Dungeon, Part 23. We're forced into long battles from the 78th to the 80th floor, because monsters keep summoning others. It's especially bad because they all have random magic elements, so we spend a lot of time defending against magic of 4 elements being tossed around. Still, Chris magic helps us reduce their numbers, until we can eventually beat them. She focuses on power to take out several monsters at once, but the downside is that she can't fire it one after the other. Rurika and the others take over and keep the monsters back while Chris rests, and when we think it's time to take them down, we go ahead and lower their numbers too. However, the throwing weapons I made are practically all gone. But that wasn't fair. Yes, it was incredible. I have never seen that before either. Rurika, Hikari, and Chris are talking about the magic the Orthros on the 80th floor used. Both of its heads had red eyes, and it only summoned others once, right after we arrived. The monsters it summoned on the other hand, kept summoning more. When the fifth one did it, I thought the floor would be filled to capacity with them. Not only that, but since each head can summon, the summoning speed is very fast. In the end, we kept bracing for attacks and counter-attacking, over and over, until it was just the boss left. But then it used magic. It was fire magic, but the magic each head used combined, turning a low-rank fireball into a mid-rank or higher attack. Or a shield couldn't handle it, so I created a wall with wind magic in that split second. And it managed to hold because Mia reinforced it with her holy magic. Normally, holy magic targets and buffs people, but Mia has adapted it. It's pretty incredible actually. Chris is excited about it too. Since when can you do that? HN. I just felt like I could do it, is what she says to me. Can she do that to offensive skills and magic? Actually, she says she's fine, but it's clear that it took a lot more out of her compared to using support spells on people. Combining two spells to make them stronger. It's like composite magic. Does that mean they can do the same with different elements? We're done with Orthros, so I don't really want to go back to the 80th floor just to check. Conquering dungeons is all about getting to the next floor, but there's always danger. They said people don't die if they are killed here, but there's no reason to take unnecessary risks. Let's just report that these monsters can combine magic to make it stronger. Let's go back and rest for the day. Apparently there will be new monsters from now on. Yes, I want to look them up too if we have the time, I say, and Rurika looks away. She's not the only one either. Chris has an awkward smile on her face. Well, we know some people here have a hard time sitting still. How about you go shopping for us? We used a lot of throwing weapons. Why yes. If you say so Sora, what choice do we have? You sound too excited. Hikari just falls asleep when she loses focus, but sometimes Rurika faces books like she's burning away, like something's really bothering her. And so, Mia, Chris, and I head to the reference room. The monster that appears from the 81st to the 85th floors is called Deathhound. Then, from the 86th to the 90, it's one called Anubis that comes with undead monsters. Deathhounds are skeleton dogs, and we have to keep attacking them with weapons that have the holy element to take them down. Unlike other undead monsters, these ones don't have magic stones, so we really have to keep hitting them with physical attacks. However, we'll get hit with status conditions like curse if we get close, so we have to deal with that. It says they have high resistance against magic, and elements other than holy and light have practically no effect. It's not like it blocks them completely, but one would have to have very strong magic energy to damage them. I guess we'll be relying on Mia's holy arrow then. Yes, but apparently holy magic and light magic are not very effective either. There's a note on that page. Then I guess our offense will be mostly physical attacks. The problem is being hit with status effects if we get close. I think you'll have to make a lot of holy water, Mia. I'm going to make amulets against curses with the creation skill, but I need a lot of holy water for that. I have the holy magic skill, but I can't make holy water, so I'll need help with that. It looks like this will take time. We can't get around it. Let's not rush it. Chris is right. If we get sloppy with our preparations, it will all come to nothing. Then we read about Anubis, and head back to the inn. Walking in Another World, Chapter 596, New Members. When we go back to the inn, I see someone I wasn't expecting. It's been a while. Yup, sure has. It's Rairu, who I heard has been tirelessly working with the Beast King ever since we came back from the Fuxto village. What brings you here today? The Demon King asked me. He suddenly said he wants to invite your party. Everyone, to a dinner party, she says with a tired sigh. She said everyone, which means it includes Siphon's, Argo's, and Noto's parties, and apparently someone else went to talk to them. Master, let's go. Hikari's on board with it, but that's because she heard they serve tasty food. Rairu says this will take place in the castle. but it won't be a formal affair or anything. I'm curious about their food too, and since it's not like we'll be doing mock battles there, there's no reason to say number. Also, the Beast King is a king, but he doesn't really feel like one, and it feels like it's easy to talk to him. That might be a rude thing to think. We are taken to the castle by Ryaru, and find the others are already there. Despite this being a dinner party, it's not like there's a table with everyone sitting around it. There are multiple tables. After all, there are close to 30 people here. Siphon and others are red-faced and happy, so I assume they're already drinking. I see some beast people among them, but are they from the castle? Apparently they're talking about the tournament. They're having fun over there. Are you gonna drink too? I decline Ryaru's offer, and she takes us to a table. There are 3 people here already, one of them being the Beast King. The others are his wife Nen, who is also Ryaru's older sister, and someone named Feigl. Let's eat first. You're hungry, right? Hikari's eyes are glued to the food that's on the table. While we eat, the Beast King asks questions about our dungeon exploration, and talks about how he's finally done with the work that was piled up during the tournament. And then, when most of the food is gone, the Beast King turns to us with a serious expression. Is what you reported about the 80th floor today true? No doubt about it. I see. Sora, are you going to keep advancing? Of course. The 7 of you? He asks while looking around the table, and I nod. Do you need our power? He asks. Come to think of it, was it the 81st floor he was on? But he shouldn't have to come with us. He has his own party. And as I'm thinking that, no. Will you let the 3 of us go with you? Asks the Beast King, and he explains what's going on. The reason they gave for why their exploration of the dungeon stopped was that there was a lot of work to do after the tournament. Of course, it is true that they've been busy, but the real reason was that 3 of their party members died in the dungeon. There's a mechanism in place that makes it so if someone dies in the dungeon, they are sent to a room where they recover, so their lives aren't actually in danger. But they still haven't woken up. Nen says that the ones that are still sleeping will wake up if we beat the dungeon. The Beast King looks at her, and she quietly nods. How does she know that? Actually, she's powerful enough that she was a Miko in the Fuxter village. Maybe she saw an oracle or something. In any case, their proposal actually works for us. It will be the Beast King, Nen, and Feigl. The Beast King fights on the vanguard. Nen uses magic rather than fight in front most of the time, and Feigl fights with a bow and magic. I don't mind. What about you? I turn to the others, and no one objects. I see, then we need to prepare. Actually, how about we get together and do some mock battles, so you can see how Nen and Feigl fight? He sounds happy. I don't think you need to fight, says Nen, and the Beast King looks sad, but if I help him out here, that's just going to mean more trouble for me later. So I stay quiet. Rurika and the others don't seem to mind, so I'll leave the Beast King with them. And so, the next day, we show each other what we can do, and prepare to head to the 81st floor. And since the Beast King's party already conquered it, we get some advice from them. Walking in Another World, Chapter 597, Invincible Again? You already made it to the 90th floor? The receptionist's voice echoes. Her face is painted with surprise, and the same happens to the adventurers that hear her. That's our Beast King. People start praising the Beast King, and some among them talk about our party. I heard they conquered the dungeon in Majolica. Someone says. The Beast King looks iffy about the praise being thrown his way. There's a reason why we're getting so much attention. There's the fact that the Beast King and 2 members of his party joined us, after a period of inactivity, but the biggest reason is that we entered the 81st floor this morning, and went all the way to the 90th floor just past noon. But that wasn't thanks to the Beast King and the others. It was Mia. Yes, there were undead monsters from the 81st floor onward. Mia is their mortal enemy, so they went down easily. First, the 81st floor. The boss spawned, and the very next moment, it was missed. I still don't know what happened. Then, the 80th second. The boss spawned and ran towards us, but then it took off running in the opposite direction. We approached it cautiously, when suddenly, it also turned into mist. The same thing happened on the next floor, and then Nen noticed something on the 84th floor. That monster was looking at Mia. The Death Hound started trembling even more, as if it heard her. Mia then took a step forward, and the Death Hound reacted by retreating. When it was left with nowhere to go, it disappeared with an expression of despair on its face. Well, it was a skeleton, so I couldn't actually tell its expression, but I could feel it somehow. This kept repeating until the 90th floor. We didn't attack even once, let alone fight anything. There were undead in Majolica too, and I remember getting through that floor without much difficulty. Oh well, it's nice. We got through it without any problems. Rurika is right. Yes, I want to move on already, says Hikari, but it's not like she's just saying that just because she didn't get to fight. Undead don't drop meat. Nothing we can do about that. Chris and Sarah comfort Hikari. Dungeon Deathhounds in particular don't even have magic stones, so all we got from treasure chests was bone materials and a magic item. We're going to the reference room. Beast King, what about you? I see. Come by the castle later. If you're busy, it can be just you and Mia, he says with a kind of tired expression, while hearing people cheer for him. Normally he'd go along with it, but he doesn't feel like it when he did nothing. But when he vocalizes that "What is the matter, Beast King?" so humble, is the sort of thing he hears in return. We don't want to risk Mia getting too much attention, so we just leave. Yes, let us not waste the Beast King's valiant sacrifice. Nen comes with us to the reference room, and Feigl sighs and drops his shoulders in resignation. We didn't use any disposable items this time, so Rurika and the others are coming too. We have 10 floors left. From the 91st to the 95th, there will be Manticores. From the 96th to the 99th, there will Cerberus. And finally, on the 100th floor, there is a Fenrir. Apparently the Manticores don't use any magic other than summoning. They instead use their high physical abilities as their weapons, and fight head-on. It sounds like the sort of opponent the Beast King likes to fight. We have spare time, so we look into Cerberus a little too, and see that each of their 3 heads attacks separately. It says that they attack with dark flames that won't go out until their targets are incinerated, and that they're adapted not just to people, but equipment too. If we're attacked by that, we have to either dodge or block with a magic wall. Would holy water extinguish it? It says here that apparently it does, but why is there a question mark? Anyway, I feel like I'll need to use provoke to make sure they always target me. I can dodge with transfer, and block with shields made with replication. The problem is that they can attack from 3 different directions, and summon more. I guess we'll have to work something out with the magic users when we get to the 95th floor. We're going to the castle. What about the rest of you? We'll go exercise a bit, and then we'll go back. They have too much energy, because they didn't get to do anything. It's just me and Mia who will go see the Beast King, so we say goodbye to the others, and leave with Nen. Walking in Another World, Chapter 598, Protection. But what does the Beast King want? I understand calling you, but why me? I assume he wants you to have a look at them, because he saw how strong you are. Nen is talking about the people from their party that died in the dungeon. And sure enough, when we get to the castle, the Beast King leads us to where they are sleeping. We tried all sorts of things, to no avail. Then a priest suggested that this might be some kind of curse. Seeing you today made me remember that. So I was thinking those incredible abilities of yours might cure them. The Beast King explains why we're here, and Mia looks at the people lying down, with a perplexed expression on her face. I also look, and all I see is people sleeping. But then I realize they don't appear to be breathing. They remind me of Mia when I used the god-killing dagger. I cast appraisal on them, and the word protection appears. Then I try to look into it further with analysis, but nothing else appears. I don't think I can do anything. No. I could lift this, but that would be bad for them. At least that is what I feel. It's not really a curse. I think they were put in this condition to protect them. Mia doesn't know it exactly, but she's talking about the protection status. Then I guess we have to beat that dungeon, says the Beast King while looking at Nen, and she silently nods. Welcome back. So what did the Beast King want? I'm asked, so I explained to everyone what I saw. So even Mia couldn't do it? Yes. It was too much for me. I think Miss Eliana might learn something if she examines them directly. That would be tricky. Eliana can't move from the 10th floor of the Altair dungeon, but to get there, we have to get through it up to the 10th floor. There's not really much problem until the 7th floor, but it gets harsher after that. In particular, I don't want to pass by that place that sucks magic energy, especially since there's a higher than 0 chance that it might undo the protection status. Actually, Mia said she was capable of doing it too. So we decided to head to the 91st floor tomorrow. Are you okay with that? It's fine by me. I didn't really get the written materials. Yes, let's fight and be careful," Hikari says, agreeing with Ruroka. It's true that the manticores don't really have any specific traits, so we won't know what they're like until we fight them. It might be dangerous, but when we don't have a lot of information, all we can do is be careful as we go. As for the equipment, I think we have the best we can get, so no complaints there. I think this composition is a little skewed towards offense, but as they say, a good offense is the best defense. But he said he wants to see us fight, so I think we'll fight on our own first. The Beast King said he wants to see us fighting monsters. Of course, if the summoned monsters give us trouble, they'll jump right in. We could go to a lower floor if they just want to see us fight, but the Beast King said that wouldn't give them an accurate reading of our power. But I also think it has to do with him wanting to finish the dungeon quickly to save his friends. He also said that there are a lot more people in that condition. Some woke up in the revival room and were never in that condition, but some of those are still suffering from after effects. Those after effects vary from person to person, but some have nightmares, some suddenly feel pain sometimes, among others whose lives are being affected. Then, we start preparing for tomorrow and talk about fighting manticores. As before, Kana and I will block attacks, and the attackers will look for openings to strike. I'm curious to see how good the manticore's defense is. That's how little information we have about them. There was a lot of information about people going at them with raw power, but that was it. According to Nen, when the Beast King saw that in the reference room, his eyes were shining. Walking in Another World, Chapter 599, First Dungeon, Part 24. The manticore that spawns on the 91st floor immediately charges towards us. It's faster than a hellhound, and stronger than a Northrose. I would have probably been blown away, if it wasn't for me casting support magic on my shield master, and me attaching the absorption skill to my shield beforehand. But by fighting it, I understand that the biggest threat isn't its high physical abilities, but the way it expertly uses its tail to attack. It swings its tail, that looks like a scorpion's, like a whip, and touching its tip causes the paralysis status condition. It's also annoying how it doesn't take effect right away, but it slowly permeates. Thankfully, we learned that right after the boss is taken down. Why didn't the reference materials mention this? I mumble. So what did you think of our fighting style? It feels like you're used to fighting. Your balance isn't bad either. I had my doubts when I heard you were going to the upper floors with just 7 members. But now it makes sense. The Beast King praises us, but there's the matter of compatibility too. When an opponent uses long-range attacks like magic, we have to have people protecting Chris and Mia. Manticores mainly attack from a close range, so the people that would be defending them can go on the offensive. Of course, it would be dangerous if they got through, so we still have to be careful as we fight, and with how we position ourselves. I used Provoke periodically, and didn't forget to keep their attention on me as much as possible. Also, the fact that it didn't summon others helped a lot. After a short break, we head to the 92nd floor, where our group will mainly revolve around the Beast King. The Beast King dodges and strikes when he sees an opening. Nen mainly uses magic, and Feigl uses a bow and magic, mostly a bow. Feigl's bow is a magic item, so it can both shoot normal arrows and create magic energy arrows. But only arrows of the attributes I can use. Says Feigl, he can use ice and wind, so his ice arrows freeze targets, and wind arrows are made stronger by increasing their speed. Maybe I could increase the scope of what I can do if I could make elemental arrows, but I don't even use a bow to begin with. Feigl can work like that not just because of the magic arrows, but because of his skill with the bow too. When we reach the 93rd floor, we get into a proper formation. We have a group of 5 that's composed of the Beast King, Nen, Sarah, Ruroka, and Hikari. That's the offensive group, and the rest of us form another group. Why is Nen in the group that fights up close? She seemed to be mainly using magic before. Is it because having one person that can attack from a distance means she can support the other 4? When I ask Feigl, he smiles awkwardly. Nen changes her style to fit the situation. Most people in our party use physical attacks, so she mostly used magic there, but she's really good at close quarters fighting. According to Ryaru, she used to be a lot stronger than even the Beast King. I can also feel a lot of confidence from the Beast King and Feigl. And sure enough, she strikes with such power that she isn't outdone by the Beast King. I peek at her while looking around at the manticores. There are 5 around me in a semicircle. All of them summoned monsters. When they jump at me to attack, I focus on evading the strikes from their front legs and their attempts to step on me, and practically ignore their tails. The main threat of the tail attacks is the status condition, so the direct impact is a lot weaker than the other attacks. I have resistance to status conditions because my skill is maxed out, so it doesn't work on me. The same goes for Kana, because poison or paralysis don't affect Guillums. While I block, Chris uses wind magic to restrain them, and Kana and Feigl attack. And when Chris is on the offensive, Feigl's support magic keeps them at bay. Supporting with magic is more intense on the magic energy than using offensive magic, so it's like they're covering for each other. Once their numbers start going down, I switch places with Kana and swing my sword to take down manticores. Our good coordination means we take down the summoned monsters, but just as we're about to go help the others, they finish off the boss. The same thing happens on the next 2 floors. When there are a lot of summoned monsters, the Beast King's team comes to support ours, and we get through them without much trouble. And after we get through the 95th floor, "You're strong. How about joining our knights?" says the Beast King after watching Sarah fight. "I'm not good at fighting people," she declines. Walking in Another World, Chapter 600, Cerberus. The day after we get through the 95th floor, we head to the reference room. We need to talk about how to fight Cerberus, but the Beast King has trouble sitting still. I didn't want to come, but apparently Nen said, "If anything happened to you, Despite the whole lovey-dovey mood in the air, Nen doesn't react. And behind me, she has the Beast King under control. "Yes, incredible," whisper Uraraka and Chris, and Feigl sighs. Rairu also looks tired. "These 2 spells really are trouble," says the Beast King while looking over the materials. "It looks like once he gets going, his power to focus is actually high." Looking at his face in profile, he looks completely different from the person that was just grumbling. Also, he's talking about Hellfire and Hellwall. Hellfire is a flame that keeps going until it burns its target, and we read about it the last time we were looking into Cerberus. The other, Hellwall, is similar, but defensive. That said, it can also be an offensive spell, since it also burns opponents if they touch it. It doesn't keep going until the target has been burned to ashes, and it works for a fixed amount of time. Also, this one works better on equipment than on people. Flames that not only block attacks, but destroy too. "It's trouble," the Beast King responds to Uraraka while crossing his arms. Yes, he's right. Especially when it comes to weapons, since a lot are made with precious materials, or are rare and irreplaceable magic swords. But still, there are adventurers who spend a lot of their money on equipment. I guess you would have to reach the top. But if we use mass-produced weapons, who knows if our attacks will work? Should we mainly attack with magic then? If we use magic in the middle of an attack, it can't block it. "Sora, are there any signs that a Hellwall will come?" asks Chris, as the Beast King and I try to work something out. I look into what she asks, and there really is something written here about movements it does in preparation. But we can't just take it at face value. "Yes, we have seen monsters do things not mentioned in reference materials." Chris agrees with Nan. "Yes, we've seen them do things not referenced here, like the way they use magic." Chris, "Would Grandma know something?" "Grandma?" "Yes, she knows all sorts of things." "Who is that?" "You met her in Elysia, Beast King." "One of the elves that was captured." "Ah, that elf. But wasn't she back in the Republic?" "Yes, but we can contact her," says Uraraka, and Chris looks at me. "I think she's checking if she can use it." I nod, and she takes out the communications device to infuse it with magic energy. Not long after, she starts talking. She looks happy, so I think she's talking to Eris. "It's been a while." "Ah, Uraraka and Sarah are saying hello too." "Is that a magic item to talk to people far away?" "Yes." "Really? That tiny thing?" I explain, and the Beast King is surprised. "Did you get it in a dungeon or something?" "I made it." "Can you make more?" I shrink back as he gets way too close to ask that. "The materials." "If I have materials, but those choose people who use them. They use magic energy, so if someone doesn't have it, they can't use them. Not to mention that I can't make them without materials. That would make communications a lot easier." "Well, we have others, but their consumption of magic stones is pretty severe. They're also the type that you have to set, and can't carry around. In any case, all we can do is hope that Elf knows something." I peek at Chris, and she nods while taking notes. "So, Does Morrigan know about Cerberus, or about Firewall and Hellwall? Eventually, we all stop looking at the reference materials, and look at Chris instead. We're not slacking off, we just read everything we had to. It's not like there's a lot to read about the upper floors anyway, because fewer people reach them. The sure is a lot about people getting upset about losing their equipment to Cerberus though. In fact, since there was no real penalty for dying back then, some people even protected their equipment with their lives. So, do weapons stay in the dungeon when people die? I think they come out of treasure chests. The Beast King also got weapons when he was making his way through the upper floors. After talking some more, Chris finally hangs up and tells us what she learned from Morrigan. Walking in Another World, Chapter 601, Plan Against Cerberus. So according to Grandma, Chris starts explaining. And apparently there are ways to deal with Hellfire and Hellwall. Hellfire can be blocked with equipment that has the light or holy attributes. However, there's still a good chance that equipment with those attributes will still break if it keeps being attacked. Also, holy magic has to be applied by an expert. Mia can use holy magic, and I can use light. The issue is how long the effects will hold. If we have to keep reapplying it, Mia and I will be kept busy most of the time, and it will be hard for Kana to take the role of guarding the back row on her own. If we are fighting multiple monsters, the other way to block it would be to cancel it out with magic of our own. Does it have to be water spirit magic? Yes, out of the three, it's the only one I have a contract with. Light spirit magic could do it. But Chris only uses fire, water, and wind. So it has to be water. Would normal water magic not work? Yes, Chris says to Feigl. What about Hellwall? It's fundamentally the same as Hellfire. But since it's defensive magic, it's more difficult to break, and puts a big strain on weapons. So even if our attacks might get through, it's best to avoid it. The Beast King is smiling awkwardly, because he likes to just push forward and break through. He's sighing even as he speaks. Well, we still have to see how often they use magic. These two things are what we have to watch out for the most, but they have a lot of attack options, like breathing fire. The Beast King is right, they can use stuff like regular fire or dark magic too. Yes. Also, dark magic has a lot of status ailment spells, so we can't forget to deal with that too. Is that how dark magic works? I have resistance, but there are curses, darkness, and fascination spells. There's also the fact that it's hard to tell when they use dark magic. Curses can be dealt with holy magic, but things like darkness and fascination have to be lifted with recovery. That means having to keep checking with appraisal. Well, let's discuss what we can do first. I think we need to prepare for a battle of attrition. Hanging in there and waiting for the opponent to weaken could work. But how high are Cerberus' physical abilities? Nothing here mentions that. Maybe its magic is so troubling that they only focused on that. Or maybe it's physically not much different from the monsters that came before it. Needless to say, adventurers that made it this far had to have a considerably high level. Also, the ones that left these notes were from a time when there was no penalty for dying in this dungeon. Will the dungeon go back to the way it was after we beat it and free the god that's supposedly sealed here? I think this place will become a lot more popular if that happens, and they're going to have to start restricting entry. If people can train with no worries, I think the lower floors could become a perfect place to train newbies. The biggest problem would be getting too used to this place and having trouble out there. So let's go. 2 days from now? Yes, that's fine with us. I look at Rurika and the others, and no one objects. I'm more surprised because I feel like the Beast King would want to go straight away. Well, I have some work I have to do, he says. Probably because he can read my expression. And Nen is smiling next to him. I see. So he read Nen's expression too, and quickly changed plans. The Beast King has a lot of responsibility, so he's busier than us. He grumbles when we talk, but I feel like he does his job properly. I think that's really good of him. The next day, we have nothing to do, so we go take a walk around town. Noto's party is also taking a break today, so all the girls are having fun talking. We're walking after them. But, looking at Noto and Shun reminds me of myself a while back. They're currently in disguise. Being famous isn't easy. I also used to wear a mask to hide my identity, but I actually see several people wearing masks around town. There are quite a few people with a peculiar sense of fashion when it comes to their clothes too, and one where I don't know where I would look. I get that it's easier to move around in that, but it's pretty provocative. Then again, Rurika and the others don't react at all. like that's perfectly normal. Us otherworlders on the other hand, don't feel that way. Walking in Another World, Chapter 602, First Dungeon, Part 25. The 96th floor. The moment we walk in, long-range attacks start flying. Hikari uses projectile slash, Rurika, Sarah, and the Beast King throw weapons. Feigl uses a bow, and Nen magic. Kana is standing in front with a shield. Mia and I are casting support magic. I'm using the light attribute, and Mia is using holy water as a medium to cast holy support magic, focusing especially on Kana. Chris starts chanting spirit magic, and when she's done, she holds it and waits to see Cerberus' reaction. It dodges when it's attacked, and executes attacks of its own. The right head is breathing fire. The left one is summoning monsters, and the one in the middle is completely still, watching our movements. Rurika gives the signal, and Chris uses water spirit magic. But it's not really as a counter to Hellfire or Firewall. Chris' spirit magic flows on its way to swallow the boss and the other Cerberus it summoned. 3 of them activate defensive magic, creating a soaring firewall. But their firewall isn't enough to stop the momentum. But behind this one, there is a dark red wall. And once Chris' magic hits it, I hear the sound of water evaporating. Eventually, it turns into steam as both cancel each other out. Stay focused. The next one is coming. The moment the magic disappears, I hear the Beast King's sharp voice. There are red lights beyond the steam that are gradually getting bigger, and then they fly this way. They're dark red flames with about a meter in diameter. I'm sure that's Hellfire. There are 3 of them heading here, and when I see that, I speak and replicate a shield. Kana, take care of one. When the shield that appears in my hand touches the flames, it burns. I let go of it and jump back, and the shield is engulfed by the flames before disappearing completely. Was it burned to cinders, or did it disappear because of the time limit of replication? I think it's the latter. It seems like I can block Hellfire like this. I look at Kana, and it looks like she's not having trouble blocking it either. However, the elements infused into the shield are gone, even though they were layered. What about the others? Thrown weapons don't work. They hamper their momentum a bit, but won't stop them. And they explode, like the reference materials said. But the range of the explosion isn't very large, so it's possible to avoid it by just taking some distance. And the flames disappear right away. I think it's best to dodge. Yes, and Sora, look after the back row. You too, Kana, says the Beast King. And we nod. Then we continue to mostly defend. What we've learned is that Hellfire is more troubling than Helmel. When we're about to finish one off and it uses this, we can't finish it. But that spell's magic energy usage is intense, so while we attack, their attacks slow down. All they can really do is fire one shot as a counterattack. In the end, it takes time, but we get through the 96th floor. The issue is that we were so nervous during the fight, and that took so much out of us, that we all sit down when it's over. That was pretty tough, says the Beast King, who is out of breath. Surely being on the front line means he had more on his shoulders. Still, he looks happy about getting to fight a strong opponent. But I think this will work. Their magic is troubling, but they're not opponents we can't take down if we just put them down one at a time. This will depend on the number of summoned monsters. But even a Cerberus goes down relatively quickly if multiple people are attacking it. We felt this more during the later half of the fight, when we were dispatching them pretty fast, but that also has to do with the fact that their level goes down as they summon. But more importantly, our coordination also went up a lot. It was like we moved knowing how the others would move. And it was the Beast King who kept this under control. Well, in my case, if I think about how I want them to move, I'll know how to move, says the Beast King like it's nothing. We take a 10-minute break, and advance to the 97th floor. By using the experience we gained on the previous floor, we stay calm even after it summons more monsters, and take them down one at a time. This keeps going as their levels decrease, until we're fully on the offensive. Again, it takes time to get through this floor, but less than half the time it did to get through the previous one. We keep going to the 98th floor, and once again, go through the Cerberus. But when it gets to be time to end it, our attacks are stopped. The Cerberus that were fighting on their own until this point, are all of a sudden working together. Walking in Another World, Chapter 603, First Dungeon, Part 26. The Cerberus form up into groups of 2 and 3, and we defend against their attacks. When one attacks, the other supports or guard. When they attack, we have to put more effort into defending, so we just can't go all out and attack. Because of this, despite the fact that their levels are going down, it doesn't affect the effects of their magic. Of course, it's getting weaker, so while their magic removed elemental effects with one attack before, now it takes 2 or 3. Still, we have to block with those elemental effects active, or the flames won't go out until they burn everything. Something else that messes with our momentum is how the 3 heads don't attack all at once. We thought this fight was reaching its conclusion, but it actually takes us another 2 hours. Up until this point, there were times when our opponents changed how they fought when we entered a new floor, but we didn't expect them to bust out this kind of coordination at the end of the fight. The 99th floor will be the last one with Cerberus, but there's a good chance that their coordination will be even better there. We might need to rethink our strategy, says the Beast King, and no one objects. With our opponent's skills going up, we have to also prepare accordingly. But it's not all bad. At least we learned about it, and it won't have a bad effect on our skill. Our coordination is better than when we started, and we have a good grasp on our strengths and weaknesses, so we can work in a way that makes up for them. There's also the fact that even when the Cerberus were coordinating, our formation didn't break, and we were able to cover for each other. Should we go to the training area to improve our coordination? That's fine, but we could do it here in the dungeon. The Beast King proposes we go train on another floor. It could be on the floor with another 4-legged monster. The Hellhounds of the 71st floor, Orthros from the 76th, or the Manticores from the 91st. There are also the Tiger Wolves and stuff like that below the 50th floor, but I think those would be too weak. We've gone through the upper floors, but it doesn't mean the monsters there aren't strong. But we have to face a certain degree of risk, or it won't be much of a training. After pondering it, we decide none of them really match Cerberus, so we're going to fight all 3 in order. The problem is that none of them use magic as troubling as the Cerberus. But if we fight Hellhounds on the 72nd floor, for example, wouldn't that affect a fight with Orthros on the 78th floor? I don't think so. If that were the case, they would adapt to our fighting style since the 1st floor, and it would be harder to conquer floors. I think that only applies to monsters of the same type. Rurika says to me, it's true. If they read our fighting style since the 1st floor, this would have been harder, wouldn't it? Then again, we have been changing party members and getting new weapons. Our fighting styles have stayed fundamentally the same, but there's been plenty of changes. There's no point in thinking about that. After that, we fight a monster a day. When they summon more and their levels go down, Mia and Chris get some training fighting at close range too. I was against that at first, but the Beast King convinced me that they can't grow if we coddle them too much, so neither Rurika or I complained. Also, Mia and Chris are fired up about it. I used to do it too, says Feigl while looking on into the distance. But it's true that he can fight to some extent even if monsters get close. But still, I have them agree to let me protect them with shields. At first, they can't dodge attacks perfectly and get hit, but after a few times, their movements become better, and they're able to guess where attacks are coming based on the very first moves. By the end, they can dodge without any problems. And by having a read on that, they can counterattack with magic. Well, we've done all we can. Now we just have to go through the 99th floor. A week after we started going around the upper floors, we're ready. We have plenty of disposable items too, especially MP and SP recovery ones, so we're okay even if it turns into a long fight. Walking in Another World. Chapter 604, First Dungeon, Part 27. The 99th floor. We're ready for a long fight with Cerberus, but we're not going for a long fight right off the start. Experience tells me that if we can finish it quickly, it's no big deal. That's why the moment we go in, we split into 2 groups. First, me, the Beast King, Rurika, and Sarah charge forward. I use magic while running, making use of parallel thinking to cast defensive spells on the other 3, and after I'm done with that, I switch over to offensive spells. Hikari stands in place and uses projectile slash. Feigl also shoots from his bow, and chants magic. It's kind of his assigned role. Kana stands there to defend, while Chris and Nen chant offensive spells, and Mia support magic. The back row is also slowly moving forward. While we trained, we understood once again that it's important to restrict our enemy's range of movement while fighting. If the enemy is clumped together, a single shot of area of effect magic can deal damage to several summoned monsters. Cerberus starts by casting Hellfire, Hellwall, and summoning monsters, but I block Hellfire. Chris erases Hellwall with spirit magic, and the Beast King and the others in front start taking out the summoned monsters. Meanwhile, Hikari and Feigl attack the boss, and work towards not letting it do anything. Unlike the other bosses, Cerberus has 3 heads, so they can't break through with long-range attacks alone. But we already knew that, so the point is just to keep it busy. We're also closing in to take out its legs. Cerberus heads have strong attacks, but its mobility is no joke either. If it moves all over the place, it's hard to keep it still or hit it. Our preemptive attack at the start worked exactly as we planned. The Beast King swiftly gets close and delivers blows. Sarah swings her axes, and Rurika casts Gale after getting close to unleash precise attacks. I attack with my sword while using magic, and since it's not attacking, that's a big burden off our defense. But still, Cerberus shows intense resistance. When summoned monsters see they're at a disadvantage, they cast Hellfire on themselves, turning their bodies into balls of fire. We can't touch them in that state. We have to either use magic to put out the fire, or I can stop them. But if we touch them directly, we'll catch fire too. Despite their resistance to fire, they don't survive long when they set themselves on fire like that. TCH, that attacks trouble. The Beast King smacks his lips, but our opponents are also desperate to take us down. The boss uses this window to summon more monsters, and we can't stop it. But still, we take them down steadily, and move in to reduce their area of activity. The boss is gradually being cornered, and its fighting style is getting simpler too. Its mobility has been taken away, and it can't use Hellwall. It's a threatening spell that's good for offense and defense, but it's bad for the caster if used in a narrow area. I've actually seen one touch a Hellwall and burn to death. Sora, one's over there, says the Beast King, and I pull back the sword I just swung, to hold up my shield. The Cerberus at my feet turns to dust and disappears, but my mind is already on the next one. It's going for a tackle, but it can only muster up half the power because it can't get a good running start. Actually, less than half. Once I block it, 2 arrows fly past my shoulder and hit it with the usual precision. It screams, and the remaining 2 heads fly into a fit of rage, but we're not done. First, Rurika uses Gale to cut at it from a blind spot, and while its attention is there, Sarah attacks a head from above. The swing that has extra power from her coming down catches it by surprise, and the head is cut. That's another one down, and the Beast King just took down another one, so there are 4 left. These 4 are being kept in a corner of the room by Chris and Nen, who are attacking with magic in waves. Once the magic is gone, let's attack. Sora, grab the attention of the boss. Feigl and Hikari, support from a distance. Rurika and Sarah, don't force yourselves to take them down. They attack once the magic is gone, but unfortunately, don't take out any of them. They're cornered, but that also hinders our movements. But we know that, and the most important thing is to not let them summon more. What matters is the next attack, and Chris, Nen, and Feigl are done chanting magic. We didn't take them out, but we did wound them, and more importantly, kept them there. The magic is fired, and it engulfs the trapped Cerberus. Walking in Another World, Chapter 605, First Dungeon, Part 28. The moment the magic is gone, we see 4 Cerberus. One of them is disappearing, so it looks like it shielded the others. But when we see the 3 that are left, we stop. Actually, it's one in particular. It's a humanoid monster. Appraisal tells me it's a Cerberus, so we can tell it's this floor's boss. Did it transform? The humanoid Cerberus has 1 head, but it has additional faces on the left and right shoulders. We're already surprised, but the changes don't end there. The other 2 Cerberus also turn into a humanoid form. Ah, this is good actually. They look like they'll be easier to fight. Dear, look at. The Beast King doesn't hear Nen, and dashes forward. I don't know if he's doing this because he has so much experience fighting people, or because the fact that it transformed into a humanoid shook him. But since one person is on the move, we can't just stay back. Moving out alone increases the danger of him being surrounded. I'll attract the boss' attention. You cover him, and Kana, take on one of them. I use Provoke, and the boss and the other one the Beast King isn't targeting turn my way. A good use of Provoke manages to attract 2 of them, so I start firing magic to get their attention even more. Kana is right behind me, so I'll take on the boss, and Kana the other one. The problem is that I'm caught between them, but I just have to get over it with skills. But then a Cerberus approaches and Kena hits it with a sharp thrust, so it switches targets to her. Kena, don't overdo it. I swing my sword at the boss, and it blocks with its gauntlet. It then steps forward to kick me. And when I hold up my shield, the impact reaches me through the shield. It's pretty heavy, despite the absorption effect. Its body is smaller in this humanoid form, but has its power gone up? The Cerberus doesn't care that I'm blocking with the shield, and keeps punching and kicking. These movements aren't at all slick, but it's too close for me to swing my sword. It's a series of attacks that really follows the idea that the best defense is a good offense. Being this close isn't good for me, so I try to counterattack. Now I activate Shield Master just as it kicks me, and the attack bounces back. Cerberus loses its balance but doesn't fall, but I swing my sword before it can fix its posture. Now I'm on offense and Cerberus is defending. It uses its gauntlets to repel attacks, and it counters, but if I can keep a good distance between us, its attacks won't reach me. I don't have a lot of experience against people fighting barehanded, but my experiences against the Beast King are coming in handy now. I didn't like it back then, but now I'm a little, just a little, thankful. Still, even if I have the advantage, it's still not going down. The reason is mostly those faces on the shoulders. Those aren't decorations, they support by using magic and breathing fire. Still, by using parallel thinking, I can counter it with magic of my own. Kena on the other hand, is fully on defense, and the back row is supporting her. Hikari throws out a projectile slash and closes the distance, but the target being smaller means that support doesn't go the way she wants. There's the danger that she might hit the wrong target because they're so close. I start wondering how the Beast King and the others are doing, but the fact that they're not here tells me they're still fighting. The Beast King, Ruruka, and Sarah are fighting, but they're probably having a hard time because of the magic. After all, the humanoid monsters still use Hellfire and Hellmaul. I can attach elements again on my own, but Kena has to keep being supported by Mia. I feel a constant holy magic reaction from Mia, so I think she's also supporting the Beast King and the others. I attach holy magic on the shield again after blocking Hellfire, and I start to feel a little flustered. Growing with experience is a trademark of this dungeon, and the Cerberus in front of me symbolizes that perfectly. Its haphazard movements are now more polished, and there's less and less pointless moves. The moves that were very simple now include feints, and when we're firing magic at each other, it attacks without giving me room to breathe. 3 claws suddenly emerge from the gauntlet, and the distance between us widens. But the worst is the effect on those claws. Don't touch the claws, I yell, even though I don't know what's going on with the other Cerberus. The holy effect on my sword is suddenly gone. When I cast appraisal on the claws, I see they have the same effect as Hellfire. Join my party on to support me.